Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I call this meeting to order. Where's my script? Doggone it. And we're going to start with roll call. Dr. Patensky?
Matthew Patinsky.
Karen Warner.
Amy Carney.
Mike Sharkey.
And Donna Lewis. I'm going to move, and I will need a second in a moment, that the board recess into executive session pursuant to ARS 38431.03A3 and 7 for the purpose of consultation with the attorney, designated representative of the public body in order to consider its position and instruct its representatives regarding negotiations for the potential sale of administrative buildings on Main Street in Scottsdale, Arizona. Folks, we'll do our best to be back here in under 30 minutes, so just bear with us, okay?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, I make a motion that we adjourn executive session. I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. I move that we provide direction to the attorney for the public body regarding item discussed in 2C. I need a second.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, as we open the meeting, I'm going to call to order our general session, and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the public for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll start with roll call again, please.
Matthew Patinsky.
Karen Warner.
Amy Carney.
Mike Sharkey.
And Donna Lewis. I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda, but we're going to remove item O from the consent agenda item. It will be placed back on the November agenda item. An individual's name was missing, and we want to present the whole agenda item completed. So I move for the agenda approval as presented with the removal of O in the consent. I need a second?
That would be a removal of 11O.
11O.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Citizens attending and/or participating in Scottsdale Unified School District meetings, either in person, virtually, or telephonically, are required to observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to members of the governing board and staff. Unauthorized remarks or demonstrations from members of the audience, yells, outbursts, and/or other disruptions are not permitted. And that's the beauty of our democracy, is we get a chance to say a variety of things and respect one another through it. All right, we'll begin with student and staff recognition and celebrations. Dr. Menzel.
Well, good evening, President Lewis, Vice President Sharkey, members of the governing board, SUSD families, friends, school leaders, teachers, and staff. Welcome to our regular meeting of the SUSD governing board here in October. It's an honor to begin tonight by celebrating the remarkable accomplishments of our students and staff, individuals who truly reflect the excellence and spirit of the Scottsdale Unified School District. We're kicking things off with a very special milestone, recognizing 2 more schools achieving the prestigious Blue Zones designation, including our first high school. To present this well-deserved recognition, please join me in welcoming our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education, Dr. Christine Bono.
Oh, thank you. I apologize. Let's start again. Okay, applause, applause. Thank you, Dr. Menzel. And good evening, President Lewis, Vice President Sharkey, governing board members, Dr. Menzel, and Mrs. Wagner. Scottsdale Unified District remains committed to prioritizing health and nutrition across every campus. Today, we are proud to recognize 2 more schools receiving the prestigious Blue Zones designation, including our first high school. Coronado High School, led by Principal Melinda Splitek. This incredible milestone is a testament for Coronado, so I'm going to invite anyone from Coronado who's here? Yay. This incredible milestone is a testament to Coronado High School's dedication in creating a culture of well-being, belonging, and healthy habits for its students, staff, and the wider community. From lunchtime volleyball and maintaining a thriving school garden to hosting family well-being events, Coronado truly leads by example. The school has embraced best nutritional practices across campus and is empowering students to carry those habits into their homes. At Coronado, the belief is simple but powerful. When students feel supported, they thrive in every area of their lives and are empowered to achieve at the highest levels. Next up, so proud, Yavapai Elementary School. We have Principal Perry and we have Kelly Perry and some other folks from Yavapai. So proud to recognize that they were awarded this designation late last month. From teaching kindergartners how to ride bikes, to earning a recent bike safety grant, to hosting the February Walk and Ride to School event supporting the American Heart Association, Yavapai has consistently shown its dedication to student health and well-being. As Principal Kelly so beautifully puts it, completing the Blue Zone application was simply a matter of gathering all the great initiatives already in place at Yavapai. That truly speaks volumes about the school's culture of care, connection, and community. At Yavapai, whether it's offering a fresh fruit and veggie snacks, designating a walkable campus, or nurturing an inclusive school environment, Yavapai is also leading by example. This designation is not just a title. It's truly a celebration of the choices you make every day to support student health, both physical and emotional. It's a recognition of the joy, the goodness, and the sense of purpose that defines life in SUSD. At this time, I'd like to invite my personal friends from Blue Zones, Danielle and Sarah, to the podium to share a few words about the incredible work being done at the meaningful partnerships we've built together.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Danielle Anderson. I'm with Blue Zones Project Scottsdale. As we heard tonight, we are recognizing 2 of our schools. So Coronado High School is the first Blue Zones approved high school in Scottsdale and technically in the state. The school promotes health and well-being through its garden program, integrated physical activity, and nutrition education across all grade levels. Upperclassmen recently explored their purpose in purpose workshops, and student leaders run summer camps and support feeder schools through events like the Turkey Trot. Programs like the Coronado Community Closet, Gear Up Grant, and Coronado Promise Scholarship all help students and families to thrive. This milestone reflects the vision and leadership of Principal Melinda Splitek, Assistant Principal Charles Johnson, teachers Alex Smothers and Jennifer Kinsey, and the entire Coronado team. Additionally, Yavapai Elementary is also leading the way in student health and well-being. They have a pollinator garden, a monarch waste station, and a vegetable garden, which they use in their programming with Blue Watermelon Project. They promote healthy habits by encouraging non-food and activity-based fundraisers and celebrations. They encourage active transportation with a pre-K bike program and even own a school-owned bike set, as well as a walk, ride, and roll day. The school also brings families together with events like Reading Under the Stars and partnerships with the American Heart Association. This distinction was made possible through the leadership of Principal Kelly Perry and the steadfast support of her teachers, staff, and students. Thank you so much.
Danielle, thank you again to you and Sarah for joining us and for your heartfelt words. Yavapai and Coronado join outstanding SUSD schools in this effort, including Mountainside Middle School, Cochise, Hopi, Redfield, Echo Canyon, Anasazi, Pima, Cocopah, and Sequoia. Together, we are building a community where healthy choice is the easy choice. So congratulations to Principals Perry and Splittick, as well as the incredible staffs and students. You've truly earned this recognition. Please accept these challenge coins, and principals, if you want to take this basket and distribute them to your well-earned staff, and Harry, Melinda, there you go. And again, let's give them a round of applause.
Well, congratulations to both Coronado and Yavapai. We know that it's a lot of work, but the commitment to the health and well-being of our students and our staff and contributing to healthy lifestyles in Scottsdale is significant. I've been told by our Blue Zones friends that Scottsdale is one of the most engaged school partners of any Blue Zones community, and it's because of your commitment to this work, and so we truly appreciate that. Thank you. And that concludes our celebrations this evening.
Thank you. We're now prepared for governing board reports.
Given I know we have folks who have a lot to share with us, I'm going to forego mine.
Okay. Ms. Werner?
So I'm going to take just 2 minutes for a board report. I have attended 4 football games in the last month and a half here, and I wanted to give a shout out to the principals and the staff who stay late to make that happen. I know it's a long day for you guys, and the games have been fantastic. I also wanted to report that today is the first time that we're having a conversation that's been agendized so that the board can have a discussion about the repurposing or closing of schools. This has never happened in my almost 3 years on the board. The superintendent cannot have a conversation with more than 2 of us. Once he talks to 3, he has broken open meeting law. So anything that we're going to vote on, the superintendent or either of us can have a conversation with more than a single other member, or in the superintendent's case, 2. The superintendent and the board president set the agenda. Now it's Ms. Lewis. Previously, it was Julie Sanowski and Libya Hartwells during my time. So I am grateful that this has been agendized today and that we can have a conversation about it. And I want to thank the Pima community and the Echo Canyon community for reaching out and also being here today.
All right, Ms. Carney.
Thank you, President Lewis. So I just wanted to thank all the parents, the staff, and community members who have taken the time to apply and accept positions on our current math curriculum, adoption, and supplemental materials committees. And then I'd also like to thank all the parents, staff, and community members who have taken the time to reach out to us with your valid concerns, thoughts, and solutions relating to Echo Canyon and Pima Elementary. These are not easy conversations to be had. I enjoyed getting to know the Echo community my first year as a board member when I was over the Arcadia Learning Community, and then my 5th child attended Pima, so I know how special both of these school communities are. That being said, I would like to report tonight that on November 6, 2018, there was a board agenda item for a 2-year growth plan commitment for Echo Canyon and other schools, of which Pima was not one, which I came across on my own doing board member research. Throughout 2024, I consistently asked for cost per student data by specific sites. And then January 27th, 2025, I asked when the board would learn about the current site growth consolidation plans, as I assumed we had to have them, knowing about the continued declining enrollment across our district. But I was told we were still working through those details. At the March 4th, 2025 board meeting, I asked for our growth consolidation site plans and a public presentation on this, which never happened. So as one of the 2 veteran members of the board, I say these things because I want to report that I have tried to understand what our plan was for right-sizing our district, but it has been very difficult to get proper information to make informed decisions, even as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sharkey.
So I spent my time in the last month really focusing on the repurposing and potential closure issue. I visited both Pima and Echo, so thank you, Principal Hodo, and for Principal Hughes for spending time with me and sharing their wonderful campuses. It really was a great visit. Second, I got data on our enrollments going back to 2018, so being able to look at those and slice and dice them over time to see trends that are happening that are very helpful, and I'm going to share that as appropriate with superintendent and board members. Third, I spent my monthly one-on-one meetings with Dr. Menzel talking in detail about potential issues, conversations, options in this, and that really helped. I really value the time that I get to spend as a board member having one-on-one time with Dr. Menzel to listen to details. Since I'm not an operational member of the school district, that time is very, very helpful for me. And then finally, thankful to parents, staff, family who emailed us. I read every email and responded to almost every email. I really value the stories and perspectives that were shared, and I especially value those that chimed in with constructive questions and options, and it's very helpful for us to see that. So thank you all for those who communicated.
Thank you, Mr. Sharkey. I would like to say, first of all, it is National Principals Month, Appreciation Month. So many thanks to all of our school principals who are quintessential in the excellence of our school. Secondly, I went to a Maricopa County, Arizona School Board Association meeting, and Amy Carney was awarded with a certificate of boardsmanship. So I would like to issue that to you. Third, when I think about the struggle many of our students have with writing, and frankly, many of us adults have with writing, however many of you terrorized through thinking, what am I going to say tonight in a short amount of time that's, making a difference. I want to honor some published authors tonight that are in our community. And we have a book that one of our parents wrote called The Girl Who Figured It Out. And it's the inspiring true story of a wheelchair athlete, Melinda Dentler, becoming an Ironman world champion. And it's just a beautiful children's story. And she got it published. And that's a pretty big gig, So I'm so proud of her. Secondly, again, I want to honor the fact that we have a book published by one of our board members, Amy Carney, Parent on Purpose, A Courageous Approach to Raising Children in a Complicated World. And it's a beautiful journey of what she said to their kids. So, beautiful book. And third, our very own superintendent was published in a national professional magazine on the return on investment that we get. And I will tell you, I was just at an international conference talking about return on investment. I had 7 professors from different countries asking me to show that report, which is on our website. So he was published in the School Administrator. So congratulations, Dr. Menzel. In addition to the School Administrator recognizing, the work of Scottsdale and its return on investment, their issue of September was devoted to managing decline. That's the main topic of all the articles. What's going on nationwide with enrollment decline is not isolated to the difficulties we're about to face as a district. And so if any of the board members would like a copy of these articles, I'm happy to share them. Is there magic in them for us? I don't know, but just ways to go about managing decline. And so as I think about, like my colleagues, I visited Echo Canyon and Pima, was so in love with the feeling and the community asset that our neighborhood schools bring to what we feel as a district and who we are in the spirit of who we are. So I look forward to continuing to listen for the next few months as we unpack the 7 years of enrollment study that has been mentioned before. We've got to lean in and this is the yuckiest job, that's a technical term, for what on earth to do with this budget cliff we have. So I hope you'll share with us in a constructive manner and in a solutions-oriented tone that as we think together about our 18,000 kids getting maximum services. That's the goal I will have, is listening and thinking about those children and their learning. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the superintendent's comments.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lewis. You stole part of my comments already because October is Principal Appreciation Month. And one of the things I'd like to ask is, our principals in the room, can you please stand?
Yeah.
So we can publicly recognize you again? I know that you don't want to stand, but you know. Thank you. Our building leaders work long days and nights. They're on call all of the time. They're providing support for their teachers, their support staff, for all of the students under their care. They're always focused on how they can elevate excellence and ensuring that our students get the best possible education here in Scottsdale Unified. It is never and has never been an easy job to be a principal. It's probably more difficult now than it's ever been before, and we have extraordinary people who've stepped up to take on this challenge in Scottsdale. I'm truly grateful for all the work that you do. So thank you. The second thing that I'd like to highlight this evening is the National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. And tonight we get to recognize some of the brightest minds in Scottsdale Unified School District. We have 29 incredible seniors who have been named semifinalists in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program, one of the most prestigious academic honors in the country. These students represent the top 1% of high school seniors nationwide, selected from over 1.3 million who took the PSAT last fall. Their success is a reflection not only of their academic excellence, but also of their leadership, hard work, and potential to thrive in college and beyond. Let's give a special round of applause for our semifinalists from Arcadia, 3 students, Chaparral High School, 8 students, Desert Mountain, 15 students, and Saguaro High School, 3 students. Now we can give the round of applause. For each one, this achievement is not only a personal milestone, but a point of pride for the families, the school, our schools, and the entire community. We'll continue to keep you updated as this process unfolds. We always love to celebrate those who are awarded the scholarship at the end of the year, but 29 is up from a year ago when we celebrated 22 students being semifinalists. So with that, we'll conclude my report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Menzel. All right, as we move into public comments, I have a statement that we read every meeting. In compliance with open meeting law, the governing board may not discuss or take action tonight on any matters raised during public comments that are not on the agenda. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or that a matter be placed on a future agenda. Public comments will be conducted in accordance with Board Policy BEDH. As a reminder, each speaker tonight will have 1 minute. We have 48 speakers. We usually limit it to 30 minutes, so we will extend it to the length of your time so all 48 can be heard. But we will clock it at 1 minute each. So please do what you can to consolidate your remarks if possible, and we'll take them in other ways through emails if necessary. So the screen will indicate the time. Please be prepared to close your comments and relinquish the floor at the conclusion of your time. The board asks that each speaker please introduce yourself by stating your name and whether you live within our school district for clarity of the record. We thank you for your time and attendance here this evening and your cooperation in following the meeting decorum and protocols. We also ask that applause be, I'll use golf clap, the golf clap applause, just so we can keep the clock moving relative to the time that people are limited for speaking. I will read the name of the speaker. When you hear your name, could you please come to the platform? I will read the name of the next speaker to be ready on deck, and once you start speaking, your time will start. So thank you for your cooperation in helping us with this decorum. Our first speaker is Melissa Goines, and our speaker on deck is Stephanie Payton. So Melissa, come on up, and Stephanie, be ready. You have 1 minute.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Goins, and I do live in the Scottsdale Unified School District. I first want to say thank you to the board members for allowing me to speak to you today. I am not here to give you facts or statistics. I'm here to tell you a story. My son Brett was diagnosed with level 3 autism. For years, he was nonverbal. His world was locked inside of him, and our world was filled with the fear that we would never truly connect with him. But then we came to Pima Elementary. The dedicated teachers and staff saw his potential, not his limitations. They didn't teach him from a textbook. They reached him on his level with patience and specialized support. They gave him the tools he needed to unlock his gifts. And he did. My nonverbal son is now speaking. This just isn't an academic success story. It is a human one.
Do we have
His progress is proof of what happens when a school and staff invest in a child.
I'm so sorry, the minute is up. Would you like to make a final remark? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Stephanie Payton, and on deck is Jade Ingstrom.
Do I have to push anything?
It's on, it's light though. Can we
Okay.
turn it up? Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Payton. Thank you guys so much for your time. I can't imagine this extraordinary decision feeling like it's on your shoulders. I have been a life skills parent for 12 years, an Echo Canyon family parent for 10 years. And my student started at Hopi and was transitioned to Echo Canyon when they closed the life skills program and brought it to Echo Canyon. During that transition, there was no plan, essentially. It was just sort of come and visit. There was no plan for changing tables, modifications for wheelchairs, or a lot of prep that needed to happen for our families. My biggest concern with the potential closure of Echo Canyon is that you guys do not leave these families and this community behind. I look at your values right now, and it says that, I lost it, but the value about inclusion basically says that you're not going to leave anybody behind. So please make sure that these families are valued.
Thank you. Jade Ingstrom, followed by Debbie Schumacher.
Hi. I have 2 children at Echo Canyon. They've been there since preschool. We have amazing staff and teachers. Our principal and assistant principal greet our kids by name and with a smile every single day. I see it. I walk my kids up. They are amazing. We just have a really wonderfully inclusive and caring community. Our kids are thriving, and I really don't want to uproot them and just tuck them in whichever school can fit them, which seems to be our only solution we've been given since the talk of a merge was quickly taken off the table. We feel a little let down by SUSD. The lack of enrollment is not for a lack of trying on our part. We really needed help. We need Google Maps to show our school is Echo Canyon and not ANLC. Even the Scottsdale Library, it shows us as ANLC. Schools in the area are not recommending us even though they are full. It's just, we are getting zero help. But I vote no.
Thank you. All right, Debbie Schumacher, followed by Blair from Echo Canyon.
Hi, my name is Debbie Schumacher. I am a native of Scottsdale, was born and raised. I am a Pima graduate, as is my daughter, and my eldest granddaughter is currently attending, and she has 2 sisters behind her. You say you want to repurpose, but we all know that within a few years, it will fail, and then you will be closing it and then selling it to a developer. Pima sits in the heart of a residential neighborhood completely surrounded by single-family homes. If you put anything other than a school there, you will destroy that neighborhood. If you close Pima and Echo Canyon, you're going to lose more students because the majority of your Echo Canyon's kids are going to move to Paradise Valley School District. And at least 20% of Pima students will end up at Noah Webster or a Great Hearts Academy because they want to stay in the neighborhood. So by closing either one of these schools, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You need to come up with another plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Blair, followed by Rebecca Burkhart.
Side of the SUSD district. It is no secret that Echo Canyon is a small school. This is actually something many of us seek out. And as a member of the site council, I've been aware of the district WIG to increase enrollment at Echo Canyon and other schools in the district. What was not clear until Dr. Menzel came to our campus to speak to the community a few weeks ago is that the size of the school was problematic to the point where a closure or a vaguely defined repurposing was imminent, or rather that Dr. Menzel intends to recommend a closure to you, the governing board. There is no district communication of this potential until he was in our cafeteria telling us to enroll in another school. As a member of the site council, I was aware of the district's ask over the past few years for Echo Canyon to increase enrollment. Our community, principal, and PTO have had many creative moves to increase our accolades of our school and the community awareness of our existence. What I've also been aware of is that other parents brought up at the meeting with Dr. Menzel a few weeks ago is the lack of support from the district and our neighboring schools that are exceeding in enrollments. I find it perplexing that the school was asked to increase enrollment, yet there was no structured support or much support at all from the district level. I did not see social media or podcast highlights. We were told there was a shockingly low response to a district communication.
Go ahead and make your last comment.
I understand that it is not your purpose or role to curate direct communications and perhaps not even weigh in on how they are executed, the WIGs. But I do believe in order to support further conversation and steps to close our schools, you should consider sufficient effort has been put forth to avoid shrinking the footprint of SUSD offering. Echo Canyon is a school of choice. It is a Title I school. It is the only K-8 school south of Thunderbird Road.
Thank you, Blair.
Thank you.
All right, so Rebecca Burkhart and then Lisa Denlinger.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rebecca Burkhart, and I am within the SUSD district. My story is I have 3 kids, ages 3, 6, and almost 9, and they go to Echo Canyon. There is no other school within the next 20 minutes that if Echo Canyon closes, my kids could go to without being disrupted of having to drive 20 minutes to it. That, having said that, we cherish our school. My kids feel like family. They don't feel like kids. The staff is phenomenal. We could not ask for better teachers for our kids. They recognize issues with their kids, say for instance, a speech issue. And that was solved within basically 2 years for my daughter. And she now has great speech and can talk normal. With that being said, I do hope that you do not close Echo Canyon because we are family.
Thank you. Lisa Denlinger and then Sabrina Messinger Acivado.
Hi, my name's Lisa Denlinger, and I'm in the Scottsdale Unified School District. We came back to Pima actually after painfully struggling for 2 years at a charter school that was unable to provide our child with the professionals and tools needed to excel academically, socially, and behaviorally. We thought this education would be more enriching, but we were wrong. Our son attended pre-K at Pima, and we remembered his amazing experience. It was the best decision we made, and within 2 years, we've had seen a 180-degree difference in all areas, and I believe it's because of the low student-to-teacher ratio and the right professionals well-equipped for success. Pima is hovering around 300 students K through 5th grade. That's about approximately 17 students per teacher ratio. Putting 25 to 30 students in one classroom is very taxing. Many reputable studies show that smaller classrooms promote higher engagement, better overall performance, and students can participate more actively in discussions. Keeping Pima open can prevent overcrowding, and so what I'm asking is that we look at strategies to bring up enrollment and supplement schools in other ways to help bridge those gaps.
Thank you, Lisa. Sabrina Messinger Acivado and followed by Rose Smith.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of an extraordinary school, Pima Elementary School. My name is Sabrina Messenger Acevedo. I'm a Scottsdale native, a local business owner, and a proud parent of a Pima student, as well as a Pima alumni myself. For 66 years, Pima has been more than just a school. It's a pillar of our community, a place where generations of families have learned, grown, and found a sense of belonging. As you consider difficult decisions about the future of our district, I urge you to take a closer look at what makes Pima worth saving. Pima is a Title I school serving students who sometimes face the greatest obstacles with dignity and excellence. It is the only minority-majority school in South Scottsdale. This isn't just about preserving a school, it's about protecting quality education for all students. We are predicted to achieve an A grade rating, a testament to the hard work of teachers, staff, and students. As a 21st Century Grant recipient, Pima offers the Beyond the Bell program, providing tutoring, enrichment, and after-school clubs that go far beyond the standard school day. We are also proud to be recognized as a Blue Zone. Well, there.
Thank you. Yeah. Rose Smith, followed by Kathy Bree Tompkins.
Good evening. My name is Rose Smith, and I live in Scottsdale. Given the vast amount of talent among our faculty and students, I'd like to once again suggest the option of incorporating an Arts K-8 magnet at one of our schools. I believe that an arts program could grow our student enrollment outside of our SUSD boundaries, as well as complement Scottsdale's own embrace of the arts. Several local families we know are willing to make the long drive to ASA specifically for an arts-driven program. SUSD is already well respected for our academics. Where are the arts? Many of our most celebrated alumni are all in the field of the arts. Could we offer an arts magnet to appeal to those students whose interests and career paths lie in this area? I would like to suggest a goal that SUSD explore and share a feasibility study on the possibility of an arts-based K-8 curriculum at one of our existing schools before we start talking of closing or consolidating campuses. Let's focus on growth rather than decline.
Thank you. Kathy Bree Tompkins, followed by Kat Inglilito.
Hello. Excuse me. Hello, I'm Kathy Bree Tompkins. I'm a Scottsdale native, and I live within the Scottsdale School District. I am an alumni of Pima, and I'm also a Pima parent going on my 15th consecutive year. Our school is very special. It was a school 2 years before our city voted to become a city. It is a staple of South Scottsdale. Our campus was just recently rebuilt 7 years ago. It's a beautiful campus, modern, gorgeous. I don't know why we're looking at closing our campus to send our kids to to send our kids to bomb shelter era schools filled with asbestos. It's a Title I school. It's a majority of minorities. It has our Title I program, and we would lose our Beyond the Bell funding if Pima is closed. So that would all.
Thank you, Rose. Kathy Bree Tompkins, followed by Kat Inglilito. Did I say that right?
Yes.
You're, okay.
Yeah.
You're Kathy.
Oh, no, I'm Kat.
Oh, Kathy just, okay, you're Kat. Go ahead, Kat. Go ahead, sorry.
All right. Hello, my name is Kat Ingalito. I'm a proud Pima Panther from 1996 to 2003, but Pima runs much deeper than myself. My mother attended Pima from 1969 to 1978 when it was a K-8 school, and she unfortunately experienced the closure of Scottsdale High, so we are no strangers to this situation. My oldest daughter now attends Pima as a third-generation third grader and thrives in Pima's wonderful programs and garden club, which helped become a Blue Zone awarded school. It would be truly a downgrade to uproot the lives of nearly 300 children under the age of 12, split up countless friendships, and increase transportation costs to, as Kathy said, bomb shelter era schools that are already full. Please consider to save Pima and an anchor in our South Scottsdale community. I am proud, I am inspired, I am motivated, I will achieve. I am Pima. Thank you.
Ellie McKnight, followed by Jeff McClellan.
Hi, I'm Ellie McKnight. I have a daughter that's currently at Pima. My son went to Pima and just graduated last year. Pima's been around for 66 years. It's a modern school. One of the reasons why we chose Pima was because it is safe, it's modern, it has the structure we need. It's built for the modern student and the modern teacher, being able to work in pods and do a variety of different things. I'm asking, Pima's going upwards. We have projected to be an A-rated school. We have grants that have come in, a $500,000 grant for that has come into Pima that we can have for the next 5 years. If we lose Pima, we lose that grant. Scottsdale loses that grant there. I'm asking you to look at Pima's boundaries, maybe expand it slightly. Help us market Pima. I've lived in our house for over 15 years. I've never once got one mailer about Pima. So do some marketing, show how Pima is great, help us out. We need your help. Thank you.
Jeff McClellan, followed by Crystal McClellan.
I'm Jeff McClellan. I live within the district. Good evening. Echo Canyon represents the future of education, one that develops the whole child. It's a place where children grow academically, emotionally, and socially, and where they love to learn. In this new era of school choice, the district must compete for families' trust and attention. We can't close our way out of declining enrollment. We must grow our way out. Echo already has what families want, a supportive community and a whole child approach that builds confident, compassionate learners. What's missing today isn't quality, it's visibility via a modern marketing strategy. I urge you to vote no on moving forward with repurposing Echo Canyon. Let's protect what's working and build the future of education right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Crystal McClellan, followed by Jean Beasley.
Good evening. My name is Crystal McClellan, and I live in the SUSD boundaries. When it was time for our daughter to begin kindergarten, my husband and I carefully weighed our options and ultimately chose a charter school. However, we found that it was not the best fit for us or our daughter. School was a source of stress rather than joy. Given another family member's experience years ago at ANLC, we saw Echo Canyon and never looked back. Today, our daughter is thriving. It's her second year as a second grade student at Echo Canyon. She has grown tremendously, not just in academics, but also confidence, emotional well-being, and her love for learning. Each day she looks forward to school, excited by the nurturing environment. But this isn't just about one child. A decision to close schools like Echo Canyon and Pima Elementary would have a profound and lasting impact on many families. We are asking you to vote no on the proposal to repurpose or close Echo Canyon and Pima Elementary. Thank you.
Jean Beasley, followed by Riesel Langbecker.
Hello, my name is Jeannie Beasley, and I'm a mother and proud member of the Desert Mountain community. I also have the privilege of serving on the District Audit Committee. For the past several years, I've been present at nearly every board meeting. I have listened, learned, and grown increasingly invested in the well-being of our schools and our community, so much so that I ran for a seat on the board last year in my hopes of wanting to make a positive difference. Tonight, the board is being asked to begin the process of closing schools. My hope is that decision can be avoided, and I'm deeply concerned about the impact it will have on our Echo Canyon and Pima families and staff. Throughout the many meetings I have attended, I have heard the accomplishments of SUSD, but I've also heard repeated concerns about declining enrollment and how taxpayer dollars are spent. What I've not heard is any clear communication about school closures until recently. These and other choices raise important questions about the priorities of board members. I urge the current board to reflect on whether different financial decisions could have prevented us from reaching this point. The SUSD community deserves a strong commitment to...
Thank you, Jean. Riesel Langbecker, followed by William Clarida.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Rizal Langbecker. I am part of SUSD. My daughter was inside the school for 13 years in public school. But I was going to talk about something else, but after all that I hear today, that everybody is trying to working to make those two schools don't be closed. I want to bring up the highlight, why are we closing those two schools? Because nobody wants to talk about that. I'm glad that each of you are presenting your point of view as a mother of somebody inside there, but let's see. Our enrollment capacity today is only 52%. So that means 48% of our schools are not being used, are not being utilized. And that's money down the drain. So 46% of our students are not proficient in math at 8th grade. 38 are not proficient in ELA at 8th grade. But they graduate at 94%. That should be upsetting.
Thank you very much. William Clarida, followed by Carter Warner.
Hello, my name is William Clarida. I have 2 children in Pima Elementary. I live inside the school district. My children go to school and come home happy every single day. They love Pima. I have never seen that many children that happy to be at a place. I've volunteered there, and it makes my heart happy to see how much those kids love to be where they are every single day. It just doesn't happen. I've never heard of it happening. That being said, this last 10 days has been hell in our family. My children are scared that school will close. They're scared of where they might go. They're asked, Dad, what school will I go to? I don't know. I don't know what the decision or what is behind the decision. The only things I've heard are, in the last few days, brochures about what we could do. I hope for more.
Thank you. Carter Warner, followed by Teresa Cadera.
My name is Carter Warner. I live within the district. I was an SUSD student for my entire K-12 education. Now, in my final semester at Arizona State University, I'm a student teacher at Echo Canyon. I was lucky enough to be placed at Echo 2 years ago for my first observation and knew right away that it was a special place. For the last 3 semesters, I've returned for each internship because this school, the students, the staff, and the incredible administration have been instrumental in shaping me as an educator. It breaks my heart to see a school that truly embodies the spirit of this district face such a difficult situation. I have watched the Echo community mobilize to get the word out about this school, from participating in the Parada del Sol to our PTO fundraising to ensure that the school even had a sign, something that the district did not do. I had hoped that this process would not have been so cut and dry, with solutions left unexplored and a persistent narrative that we are out of runway. The Echo Canyon community has shown that they are willing to go above and beyond for this school, and they deserve to be seriously considered by the district. Thank you.
Teresa Cadera, followed by Martha Graves.
Hello. As a former 9th grade Algebra 1 teacher and current 6th through 8th grade math teacher, I am very concerned with the proposed math goal. In the high schools just last year, we were having conversations with our principals about the failing rates of freshmen in Algebra 1. If these concerns are still prevalent in 9th grade, what is there to say about the future of our 8th graders? This decision is being made based on the successes of a small percentage of our students. To generalize our currently advanced student success to all of our students requires a drastic shift in pedagogical approaches, teacher preparation, and family understanding of support systems at home. Who will take responsibility? It will not be this board, but the teachers who will manage increased frustrations from students who may not be ready to be thrust into accelerated courses. Teachers will be learning a newly adopted curriculum and filling the inevitable gaps that a 4-year goal will have left behind. The best way to serve our students is not with inflated goals meant to grab headlines, but to encourage student-family-teacher collaboration and identifying and placing students in appropriate math courses. Thank you.
Thank you. Martha Graves, followed by Patricia Pellet.
Our children and our community is more than just the bottom line. My name is Martha Graves, and I have a 3rd grader at Pima, and I have another student who just graduated from there. And I'm also the product of the Scottsdale School District as well, and I'm passionate about having a robust, quality, diverse public school. Pessimistically, this feels a little bit like lip service. We have not been given any solutions or goals or specifics on how to stay open. There has been no answers as to the current budget, operating costs, the actual savings associated with dismantling a close-knit community. and sending them to sprinkle about many other schools. We are the first phase of this plan, and from what I've seen, the second phase seeks to close 6 additional schools. So what will those schools look like? What will the classroom size be once they've all closed? 8 schools are going to be closed in the next 2 years. That's a third of the district. That is not sustainable either. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Pellet, followed by Mike Bengert.
Hi, I am a mother of an SUSD student. I was sitting front row at the lightly attended board meeting where board member Werner was attacked for a hot mic. I nor Susan next to me, nor staff listening at home heard Werner say anything. In fact, an anti-Werner social media poster even posted she didn't hear Werner. The coordinated attacks against Werner reminds me of the Salem witch trials. Some in this room are guilty, and then you have the community and the media falling for the propaganda. The proof nobody heard Werner is the speaker at the podium never paused or stumbled her speech due to interruption. Dr. Lewis didn't pause the speaker to see if Werner had a question, nor did anyone apologize for Werner. Finally, this happened on 8/5, so why were there no backlashes or posts until 8/9? Was the audio doctored? Shame on the guilty in this room, and you know who you are. Shame on the community for falling for the propaganda, and shame on the media for jumping on fake news. You're the guilty ones for shaming and continuing to shame this woman. Focus on academics to save SUSD and not attacking board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Mike Bengert, followed by Alistair.
My name is Mike Bengert. Coronado is a Blue Zone school where they foster a culture of well-being and belonging, yet only 26% of the students are proficient in ELA and less than 20% proficient in math and science. Students can't read, do math, or do science, but they have a culture of well-being and belonging. For Echo Canyon and Pima, 70% of the students are not proficient in math or science, and only 50% proficient in ELA. They need to be repurposed into schools that teaches academics. Arizona superintendents trying to understand declining enrollment highlighted the benefits of public schools. We welcome all, including comprehensive choices, but made no mention of academic excellence. Menzel's idea, increased marketing, a podcast, a magazine, a blog, and unlimited time at board meetings aren't enough to fool all parents into thinking he is doing a great job. Yet as Menzel continues his goal of dismantling SUSD, a group of parents still support him. Trying to remove Member Warner shows how these parents don't care about students. She and Member Carney have been the only sane members who care about students and academics and push back on Menzel's radical agenda and destructive policies. Wake up, parents.
Thank you. Alistair.
Hello. Hello, Governing Board. My name is Allison Klotny, and I live within the school district. I'm here tonight in support of Karen Warner. Karen ran on the platform of putting students first, empowering parents, supporting quality teachers, and building a culture of trust, ensuring transparency and accountability, and restoring traditional education. Karen's record as a child and student advocate have been demonstrated throughout her term. She is currently working to reform Arizona's Department of Child Safety Abuse reporting system after the murder of 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste. Karen supported Senate Bill 1437, signed into law. SB 1437 modifies Arizona's mandatory child abuse reporting law specifically for school employees. She fought to save staff when cuts were coming. Anastasi's vice principal Martin was saved on her back, by her behalf, and Coronado principal Palatucci. SUSD is fortunate to have Karen Warner.
Thank you, Allison. Alistair, I'm sorry, we had two Alistair and Allison, so we'll go with Alistair next. Thank you.
My name is Alistair. I was a third grader at Anasazi, but in a different class than Mrs. Javanette. This teacher created a hostile school environment for kids like me when she didn't like their parents. She would yell at me in the hallway and hurry me along. I also caught her filming me one day. She claimed she was filming field day, but the event was over, and her phone was pointing right at me. At the same time, a neighbor on my street was also filming me while I was outside my home. It was creepy and I felt unsafe. It became so bad that my family had to get a restraining order against my neighbor. At court is when the neighbor revealed a personal email from Mrs. Javanette to my neighbor, thanking my neighbor for protecting teachers against extremists. This is when I found out that Mrs. Javanette and my neighbor were working together. Now Mrs. Javanette had been caught celebrating gun violence and a local hero, Charlie Cook, being assassinated with her post on social media. How do you allow her to teach third graders? How do parents leave their kids in her class? She's the reason why we and others left Anasazi. Now I hear more are leaving after her recent hateful posts.
Thank you. Susan W. Susan W. And that's followed by John Aiden.
I'm Susan Winder. I am outside of SUSD, but my grandson attends Chaparral. I would like to share some thoughts about the last school board meeting. As you are aware, there are lots of people who were picketing outside and lots of people who came to speak. Having worked in a school system, I am aware that doesn't happen on its own. I suspect that somebody within the system either contacted the union president or had someone contact them for that person. The only problem is that what they heard or were told to prompt this incident was a lie. As you probably know, I am at most school board meetings sitting right over there. I was at that school board meeting, sitting right there where the screen is, where you can hear. And you see, I don't have a hearing aid, I have very good hearing. So if anybody behind that dais says they heard that, they are lying. Rumor has it that someone from the cabinet, along with Julie Sanowski, doctored the recording. I don't know if that was true, but what I do know is that Mrs. Warner did not make that comment. It seems that you have little respect for your nutrition food manager, as if you did, you would not have put.
Thank you. John Aiden, followed by Christian Virin.
Hi, my name is John Aiden. I'm a proud Pima parent. We all want the same consideration extended to Pima that has been extended to other elementary schools in the past. Please consider redistricting Pima's boundaries. One approach could be adding section 10C that goes from 64th Street to 68th Street between Thomas and Osborne. This area borders up to the Arizona Crosscut Canal, which is a natural geographical dividing point between Arcadia and South Scottsdale. Another approach could be adding some of the area from 64th Street to Scottsdale Road between McDowell and Thomas. When Tonalea's K-5 portion was dissolved in 2022, the lion's share of Tonalea's area went to Yavapai Elementary, yet Pima shared the same amount of boundary space with Tonalea as Yavapai. The small portion of Tonalea's area that Pima gained was offset by giving to Holcomb Elementary School the area east of Coronado Golf Course and Eldorado Park over to Hayden. It's not clear why Pima had to give some of its borders to Holcomb, as the elementary parent survey conducted early in Tonalea restructuring process indicated that Holcomb stood to benefit from transfers from Yavapai and Tonalea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christian Guerin, followed by Tricia Dioget.
President Lewis, members of the board, I'm Kristen Guerin, and I live in district. Dr. Menzel met with Echo Canyon families last week for the first time ever. That meeting was about 5 years overdue. There we learned our school had been experiencing a steady decline in enrollment for 5 years, and now we are at a crisis level. Yet no one has addressed this with us until now. Had he met with us earlier, he would have found a powerful ally on ECS families, most of whom chose this SUSD school over their home district. He would have heard our ideas and solutions and felt our commitment and determination to help Echo Canyon thrive. He would have learned how we discovered the school and why we chose it for our children. There is a disconnect when the district fails to communicate with families and when schools and their PTOs are left to manage their own marketing. There is a disconnect when other school communities like Hopi and Kiva are made aware of our struggles before we are. I hope you have learned that this ongoing disconnect and breakdown in communications and marketing has left our school invisible. Echo Canyon isn't declining because it's a poor model or because there are too many other choices. It is declining because of years of failed district leadership and support. Please give us an overdue chance to grow and the resources in which to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Tricia Dioget, and followed by Valerie Ramos. Thank you. Tricia, then now we'll go with Valerie Ramos, followed by Richard Trulick.
I'm giving my time to my kid. His name is Harlan, and we live in Tempe, so we specifically come to Scottsdale. Go ahead, buddy.
I'm Harlan Mullen, and I believe that Echo Canyon should stay open because we are a grade A school, and if you think we should take money from other schools, and if that's the problem, well, we have to give a little to get a little. Echo Canyon is a good grade A school, and I think that it has the potential to grow.
Thank you so much. And I think you're a great superintendent, by the way.
Thank you. Richard Trulick, followed by Sarah Kuchenbecker. Richard's not here. Okay, Sarah Kuchenbecker? Not here. Shay Najafi? Oh, my apologies. I paused. Richard Trulick, Sarah Kuchenbecker are next up. We're going to give them a minute since we have an overflow. They're coming? Great. Thank you. Are you Sarah? I am. Take your time. You're fine. Thank you. And we'll begin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Kuchenbecker, and I live in North Scottsdale, and I have 2 children in the district. I'm taking a moment to reflect on why people seek elected office, especially positions like school board, which serve as a first step toward a broader political career. Now, most people run for office for one of 2 reasons. They feel called to serve with a genuine desire to improve their community, or they seek power and influence. I believe it's clear which of these motivations drives you, Karen Warner, despite what your planted advocates tonight have to say. Very brave of you to show up. You have already leveraged your seat on the board to become a state senator. That sure seems like seeking power and influence. And how do you feel about listening to a presentation about feeding hungry kids and improving the common good? Well, you recently told us yourself, a snide, this is what I have to listen to, followed by other rude and dismissive comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Shay Najafi? Shay Najafi? Unless Richard is here. Okay, we'll move on. Shay Najafi.
Thank you. Board. I first want to let you know I am bringing to you the names of over 1,700, nearly 1,800 signatures from parents, community members asking for Karen Warner's resignation. This is a final straw. This is not just about the one comment calling a district employee chubs, which she knows she did, and she has not apologized. This is about her not showing up for our community and her continuing to be a bigot, bigoted to the bones, this woman is. Bigoted to the bones. And we are done with it. And by the way, we're 48th lowest funded in the nation for our schools. Sure seems like someone sitting in the legislature could help us in that way, but you haven't done that. And here we are faced with having to close schools. Who should we be looking at? Perhaps it's you.
Thank you. Kim Overhead. Kim Overhead, followed by Taylor Sharp. Kim Overhead, are we waiting from overflow? This, I think as we get longer, okay. Thank you. So if you're on deck, next after Kim Overhead is Taylor Sharp, and then we'll have Marissa Hamilton, just to be prepared. You can come on in to be on deck.
Hi, my name is Kim Allred. I am an actual graduate of Scottsdale Unified School District a couple years ago, and I have twins in 2nd grade at Pueblo, and I'm here on behalf of the students at Pueblo who found out what Karen Warner recently said and were horrified. They're 7, they're 8 years old. They did not understand how somebody could be so mean. They did not understand how somebody could ban books and want to change their history. And so they had some very interesting words, and I've never heard 2nd graders say hate, but that's what they wanted to say. And I'm just speaking on behalf of a bunch of 2nd graders who don't think it's okay what you did. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa Hamilton. That was Taylor, right? Taylor Sharp. I'm sorry. Taylor Sharp, come on up. I apologize. I got ahead of myself. Taylor Sharp, followed by Marissa Hamilton, and then Elijah Norton, if you could be prepared. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Taylor Sharp. I live in the Scottsdale area. Well, I was just, thank you for having me here today, by the way. And I was just kind of wondering, there's a massive problem with education in Arizona, well, especially somewhat in the Scottsdale School District. Bullying is a problem, especially at Chaparral High School. Arizona has the worst in the nation student to counselor ratio. I don't see you guys doing anything about that whatsoever. And some people were talking about a comment that a representative made. Well, I think that we should make Arizona healthy again, really. And Ruben Gallego, I don't see any petition on Ruben Gallego making comments towards our president, Donald J. Trump, that the people in Arizona elected, which is, kind of funny, I guess, because no one has a petition for a lot of signatures for that guy. And also, we also must address families are leaving, morale is low, trust is fading, but with transparency and high expectations and a renewed commitment to excellence, we can make the SUSD the district our students and community deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa Hamilton, followed by Elijah Norton, and then Leslie Dement. If you'd like to go ahead and get prepared. Marissa.
Hi, my name is Marissa Hamilton, and I lead an organization called easyaz.org, which has well over 1,000 people that subscribe to us that are in the school district. And so I'm speaking here because we need to make our schools healthy again. To the previous speaker that said the legislature hasn't done enough with the funding, that is rubbish. You need to learn math. The legislature has funded schools more than any, recently in the last 5 to 10 years, more than any time in the history of the state. The focus right now should be on making our kids healthy again. It is ridiculous the fact that we have such a issue with so many kids having obesity. It sets them up for failure in their life, and that should be the focus we have. And that's the reason why I'm wearing workout clothes today, because I'm thankful for Karen Warner for focusing on that, for focusing making nutrition and making kids have a healthier lifestyle here in Scottsdale, because parents have been complaining about it. You should fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Elijah Norton, followed by Leslie Dement, and then there's Jason Foster. Elijah.
Good evening. My name is Eric Lovelace. I'm speaking on behalf of Elijah Norton.
Okay.
My name is Elijah Norton. I live and pay taxes in the SUSD. I'm here today to express my support for my friend, Karen Warner. She has served our state as well as both a senator and a school board member. I've traveled across this district and spoken with many parents and families, and it is their view that under the leadership of the current nutrition director, SUSD has not become healthier. Quite the opposite. I was just speaking with a parent outside who said she often finds her son eating junk food at school for lunch. Scottsdale and all of our schools in Arizona should be the epitome of health. Based on my conversations with numerous people in this district, it appears that this is not the case. Karen Warner is so committed to the health of the district, she has invited multiple school health officials to the state capitol to discuss how to keep children healthy. She even invited Miss Bilberry as a token of good faith, but she declined.
Thank you. Leslie Dement, followed by Jason Foster, and then Jacqueline Buckley, if you'd be ready.
Hi, my name is Leslie Dement, and I'm a parent at Pima Elementary and a resident of South Scottsdale. I really want to thank you for having this forum to listen to the parents. We understand the challenges that you're facing. I run a business, and I understand that we really need to focus on our budgets, but we need to understand that Pima is not a failing school. We are thriving, and we're talking about closing a school that is really important to the community. We're the only minority-majority school in South Scottsdale representing diversity and inclusion. We're giving students an opportunity by having this school, and we embody these values that SUD has every day. We're not asking you to ignore the numbers, but we're asking you to see the full picture. We can't measure these costs in strictly dollars, but this is disrupting our children, our community, and our neighborhoods, and losing a school that's so important to the families here today would be a real detriment to what we have in South Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Jason Foster, followed by Jacqueline Buckley, and TJ Buckley after that. Jason?
Good evening. I'm Jason Foster. I'm an SUSD graduate. My children are both SUSD graduates, and I have been teaching math at Arcadia for 27 years now. I recently just learned about our wildly important goal of moving 75% of our 8th graders into Algebra 1. By my numbers, that would be about a 200% increase. I don't know if that's that organic of an increase. At Arcadia, I know our IXL diagnostic tests show that we're predominantly below grade level at the high school level. I know we can't control kids coming in from outside of our district and what happened at their previous schools, but in our schools, I think maybe a better goal would be to work on improving and bringing our kids up to grade level instead of maybe pushing them even farther, but to get us up to grade level. That would help our Algebra 1 failure rate. Their anxiety that they have in the high school level is unprecedented right now. And so I just hope we can continue this dialogue before we make any wildly important decisions.
Thank you. Jacqueline Buckley, followed by TJ Buckley.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Buckley, proud math teacher at Chaparral High School. I come to you again tonight to ask you to table the vote on the math WIG. Math teachers from grades 6 through 12 have continued to raise questions and concerns over the appropriateness of this goal. 80% of middle school and high school teachers have been surveyed, and 100% of them have opposed the WIG as written. The WIG does not have support from the math teachers being told to implement it. We just want a voice at the table to be able to do right by our students. If this goal fails, whose job is on the line? Who will be deemed ineffective? Thank you.
Thank you. TJ Buckley, followed by Emmy Cardella.
Hi, I'm TJ Buckley, president of Scottsdale Education Association, but speaking to you as a parent tonight, a proud parent of a child over at Sequoia. My daughter is in 2nd grade, and she loves math most of the time. Sometimes she hates it. Like at the end of the night after a dance class or religious ed classes while struggling to finish math homework. We've worked hard with her teachers to keep her caught up on her academics. I worry about when you change the expectations and she's expected to be a year ahead of at-level pace. What will her reaction be? Who will handle it? Will she stay engaged? Will she want to continue to be a lifelong learner? Will she see herself as successful? As her father, I will guide her through that process, and you'll see none of it. But your decisions will have led to it. After all, you didn't ask us or involve us in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Emmy Cardella, followed by Paul Rowe.
Good evening, Governing Board. My name is Emmy Cardella. This is my 16th year as an SUSD parent, and I am a proud Don. And tonight, Ms. Carney, I came to address you. I was here last month as well, and you chose not to show up, so I'm pleased that you are here tonight. As you know, I attend all of these meetings. I have for years, and I did have to miss the meeting in August when I heard your comments online. So to the conspiracy theory that it was somehow made up, I listened to it that night, and there were your comments. And they were dismissive of the hard work of the nutrition staff, and then your bizarre comments about a staff member. It is just rude and disrespectful of staff. And instead of being a professional and admitting you screwed up and then apologizing, you have gone on to consistently lie, saying that that is not what you said, you were misheard, that's not what you meant. You specifically said, nutrition services, this is what I have to listen to. It's clear, you were loud and clear, and it's clear what you were talking about. So you continue to not apologize, and it's just disrespectful and bizarre.
Thank you. Paul Rowe and Denise Ryman.
Good evening, members of the board, fellow citizens. My name's Paul Rowe. I'm a longtime resident of Scottsdale. While I came to echo the comments about the health of students, I couldn't help but hear the emphasis on the potential closure of 2 schools, which by the parents' comments are needed. I think that speaks to a larger issue that the reason the school district enrollment has declined over years is because of a lack of emphasis on academic standards and a rigorous education for children Some of these comments tonight have echoed that thought, so I would advise a return to the standards that I enjoyed while attending Arcadia High School years ago, and not dwell so much on the extraneous social and other issues.
Thank you. Denise Ryman, followed by Joseph Russo.
Hi, my name is Denise Ryman. I work for Scottsdale Unified School District, second generation of students going to Scottsdale. Right now, my grandson goes to Echo, and he wasn't doing too well previously, but miraculously through Echo, they were able to turn him around. I can only contribute to the wonderful teachers there, their delivery, their caring to turn him around the way they did. My daughter also went to Pima years ago. I would hate to see our schools close. I think we should look at quality instead of quantity right now. And I think it would be really a positive move for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Russo, followed by Natalie Vitale.
Hello, my name is Joseph Russo. I'm not a parent, but I'm an engineering professor from Yuma. I moved here a couple years ago. So when all your kids graduate, they come to me, basically. And I've been here for about the last 7 years. And Governor Ducey, fortunately, was term limited, and he left. But before he did that, he made sure to set up the ESA account, which then Horn is sucking at all the students. So if all the students are gone, Conservation Mass says, what? Where are they? Do they just vaporize in the air? Do they sublime like dry ice? No, they're at home playing their piano they bought from their ESA. You don't have any money because you have no students. You have no students because they're at home. They're at home. Go to people's homes and say, hey, did you steal money and are unethical from all the other students? I went to public school. I would have loved to have had a piano at my house. So you guys need to tax the rich, go down to the horseshoe, double the costs of alcoholic drinks from 20 to 40, bam, kids have money for books. Easy. So easy.
Thank you. Natalie Vitale, followed by Veronica Corcoran.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Vitale. I am a math teacher at Arcadia and a proud SUSD legacy. I'm here tonight to talk about the wildly important goal for math. As an Algebra 1 teacher, I struggle every year with most of my students being below grade level, and it's been a real struggle. So to see that we want to increase 75% of 8th graders being a year ahead just seems like a huge goal to accomplish in 5 years. I'm really excited about having a math goal. I'm really excited about wanting to push more students further ahead, but I think we need to slow down, come together as math teachers and work on a more realistic goal.
Thank you. Veronica Corcoran, followed by Allison Clornia.
Hello. I used to be a substitute teacher at this district, and I had to leave because I refused taking little kids to a nurse to give them horrible bunch of questionable medical drugs daily. Very painful to watch, since I am an international well-being expert who helped many find less harmful solution and have already and healthy development. There is a reason a child can drive a car before it's 16 years old, in Europe 18. Human brains develop by 25 years, and for anyone who thinks it's okay to educate kids on changing their gender is plain child abuse, regardless it comes from parents or teachers, or our governor husband. I pray that more people like Karen runs for a school board, but also for public office. People brag about blue zones while they are hurting the most vulnerable in our society. It's absolutely outrageous. It's criminal in my view. It's incomprehensible. Our governor is abusing and for profit.
Thank you, Veronica. Allison Clornia is next, and our last speaker then is Catherine Martin. Thank you very much. And Catherine Martin, are you standing by? We'll give you a minute to perhaps get into the room. Catherine Martin, our last speaker.
Madam President, board, no member who signs up for call to the public can donate their time to another under the protocols established by the district.
Thank you, Ms. McClellan. Okay, that concludes our public comments. Did I give adequate time, do you think? Okay. She's coming. Okay, my apologies. Catherine Martin is our final speaker this evening for public comment.
Hello, I live in Scottsdale, and I'm the parent of 2 children who have attended SUSD schools ever since kindergarten, and I still have one at Desert Mountain High School. I have been witness to Board Member Werner's continued attacks on SUSD values since she was elected. Her recent hot mic comments are not an isolated slip. They are part of an ongoing pattern of discrimination, censorship, and disregard for Scottsdale students, families, teachers, and staff. As the mother of a child in the LGBTQ+ community, I do not appreciate her contempt for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She has attempted to ban books and to promote PragerU's controversial propaganda in our schools. Werner has failed to take accountability for her demeaning and insulting comments. Werner is a divisive elected official and has violated the SUSD Board Code of Ethics. We deserve better. Werner should resign. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public comments. I want to remind board members that anything not on the agenda we may not speak to. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism or ask staff to review a matter that may be placed on a future agenda item. Are there any board comments? Ms. Werner.
Yep, I want to thank everyone who came and spoke and related to the math WIGs, related to ECHO and PIMA. Your voices have been heard. And also, I did take full responsibility for the comments. I reached out immediately to Patty and apologized. We had a very constructive and respectful conversation. It is deeply disappointing that a vocal few have taken the opportunity to manufacture controversy for their own political gain, even going as far as to make threats against me. I remain committed to focusing on positively serving our community and improving our schools.
You're a liar. You never Okay, we're not going to do that. All right, thank you very much. Ms. Werner, any other board comments? Okay, Ms. Carney.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone who came to speak on the issues that matter most to them. I do have a couple of things. Board President Lewis, I would like for you to review policy BEDH since you're newer to our board. There are many things in there that probably should not be allowed, and one of them, H, is personal attacks upon board members are not allowed, and I would suggest that name calling not be allowed in further public comment upon any of us. I also would like to direct Superintendent Menzel regarding Rose Smith's comment on doing a feasibility study on repurposing our schools, and one of the ideas being the arts K-8 magnet, as well as other opportunities and options that the board is yet to hear about. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? Okay, that concludes public comments. Thank you. We'll move to information discussion items, and thank you everyone who showed up tonight. If you'd like to stay, please feel free to, but also it won't disrupt the meeting if you depart on your own terms quietly. The information discussion item 10A is a presentation of the audit plan for the 2025-26 school year and report from the 2024-25 school year. And we'll begin that in a moment as the room adjusts.
You got me Thursday. I'll see you that morning.
Okay, we're going to ask that people go ahead and remove themselves silently as we continue our agenda. Dr. Menzel, would you please welcome our audit plan?
It's my pleasure to introduce Sarah Regan, who is chair of the District Audit Committee, and she has done a fantastic job in leading the group. They don't have the most glamorous work to do, but they have very important work to do, and this report and the plan for next year is carefully considered, and thank you for volunteering your time to lead this effort.
All right, thank you, Dr. Menzel. Thank you, board. I'm going to try not to take it personally that the room totally emptied out right before I got to the podium, but that's fine. I'm so pleased to be here today to talk to the board about the audit committee's work. My name is Sarah Regan. I'm the chair of the audit committee. The committee provided the board with its annual report that goes over the work that we did in the last fiscal year and the accomplishments that we achieved, as well as proposing an audit plan for this current fiscal year. Just as a matter of note, the committee is quite pleased with the way that the district responded to the audit. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that one of the audits that we oversaw resulted in $100,000 cost savings with the potential for additional cost savings. The committee is not aware of any material risks or control deficiencies in the district's audit based on the scope of our work. In terms of the audit plan for the coming year, as it always does, the committee met and went through potential risks and rank ordered areas of audit. Those are all found in the annual report that we submitted. I'm happy to answer any questions about our process, what we did last year, what we're proposing for this year. But otherwise, since the board has the report, I'm happy to let my comments stand on that.
Any questions from the board? Thank you so very much for all of your hard work and hours. Just making sure. Go ahead, Mr. Sharkey.
I just wanted to thank Sarah. I've had the pleasure of being on the committee, attended the last 3 meetings all this year, and the hard work and thankless work to really keep our district safe has been very incredible. So to all the members on the committee, folks that are here, Sarah, thank you very much and appreciate the work that's been done.
Thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
Appreciate your being here tonight. All right, our next agenda item is 10B, the M&O override, district additional assistance override, and bond fiscal year 2025 report. Ms. Crozier.
Bring that up. All right. President Dr. Lewis, Vice President Sharkey, members of the board, Dr. Menzel, and guests. As a part of our ARS 15481 and ARS 15491, a school district that has bonds or overrides is required to present to the governing board and the public yearly how those dollars were used and provide what that budget will look like moving into the forward. We happen to have both an M&O override and a capital override, as well as a bond that is almost done. It's at the very tail end. So we'll take a look at how those dollars were used. The M&O override was approved in November of 23. It went into effect last school year, the 24-25 school year. Overrides are good for 7 years. However, M&O overrides have to eventually be reapproved after 5 years, or it starts at phase out. So that would mean that this is in place for quite a while. The phase out would not start until July of 29 or the 29-30 school year. The M&O override is based off of 15% of what's called the revenue control limit. So it's based off of essentially what our ADM is times the legislative set amount per pupil. For 24-25, that amount was just over $22 million. And for this next year, it is 21.7. So a little bit of a reduction for that going into this next year. The way those dollars are spent is voter approved. So as you can see, we do maintain class size ratios, all-day kindergarten, music, art, world language, athletics, co-curricular activities, technology, which is some additional teachers there,
Staff professional development, that is at 5 additional teacher days, as well as department chairs, or we also have what's called TILs, teacher leaders. And then provide competitive teacher pay. As you can see, the bulk of those dollars really do go to maintaining current class sizes, followed by music, art, world language, and extracurricular activities. Follows that same trend as we move into this next budget year. The district additional assistance override, otherwise known as capital. So first one, M&O, is think people, supplies. District additional assistance is capital, think furniture and equipment, technology, those types of items. This one was voter approved in November of 22, so we've had this for a little bit longer. It does not have a phase out. Ironically, both the M&O and the capital come pretty close within when that phase out happens. This one would expire in July of 29. This one is based off of 10% of our revenue control limit with a maximum amount of $14.5 million. As you look at the 24-25, you'll see, well, that's 20 million is more than 14.5. We have had carryover for the last couple of years within that override, and we have moved towards making sure that we spend those override dollars. And so that's why you'll see that that expense is higher for 24-25, whereas the budget is the exact amount of the override, which is a maximum of 14.5, also within the same amount of the 10% of our RCL. Again, the bulk of that money is going to school and district technology, primarily school technology, followed up by curriculum materials, math adoptions, English adoptions. $29 million bond. Bond is really for bigger items, bigger projects. This particular one was for school renovation, life cycle improvements, security measures, and transportation. We are at the tail end. This is actually one of the longest running bonds I think we've done. Usually they don't expand out as long as this one has. I think COVID played a little bit of part in that and trying to work through that. But we are near the end. At this point, we have spent almost all of the $229 million. Again, the bulk of that went into life cycle and renovate and improvement and construction. So we redid several of our elementary schools with those bond dollars throughout the past couple of years. As you can see, we're down to, like I said, the last little bit. There's 1.2 million left there. A lot of what we're seeing now is just really life cycle projects that are happening. So that could be things like painting and just smaller type items. I will end, this is one of those things, there's a lot of things that happen with those dollars that are great things. I want to say to our voters, our community has been so generous to our district in approving those overrides and bonds. We take that seriously and want to make sure that we're using those dollars to the best of our abilities. So with that, these are just a couple of things that we did with the bond the last year. Obviously, the tennis courts over at Desert Mountain High School are, one, stunning, plus that background. Beautiful tennis courts over there. That's kind of the fun things that we get to do a lot of times with the bond, but there's also a lot of not so glamorous things that people don't always see that happens with the bond. One of that happens to be Copper Ridge. Their chiller, that's important. We need the AC in the classroom. That is a very important function for us. That gets covered with our bond. And as you can see, it was looking pretty gross and grubby there. And you'll see in the bottom corner, not as flattering as football stadiums and tennis courts, but still just as important to making sure that our facilities are at the maximum capacity. We're doing the best with our facilities that we can. That was a very quick overview, so I'll take any questions that you might have.
Any questions or comments from board members? Okay, go ahead, Mrs. Carney.
You got it. Thank you, President Lewis. Thank you for that. I just have one question. Last budget cycle that you had mentioned, or we had discussed that we could move some of the district additional assistance override dollars over to M&O. So can you tell us where that stands?
Absolutely. We cannot move the override dollars from capital to M&O. We have two pots of capital money that comes through. The state funds a portion of, or state funds capital at a rate, and then on top of that, our voters have approved an override. The override has to be spent in the manner in which the voters approved that to be done. There can be a little bit of flexibility, but it's based off of that voter pamphlet. What we are moving is state allocated capital funds. This is the first year we've done that. We went forward with moving 4.2 million of state capital funds. The total budget for that is just over 10 million, between 10 and 11 million. So we moved a portion of that into our M&O. That is an allowable thing to do. The board can have us do that within our budget, but the override dollars cannot be moved over to our M&O.
Okay, thank you. So if that fund is 10 to 11 million, how much of that could we move over to M&O? Could we move all of that over to M&O if?
You technically could move all of that. Am I okay with?
Yeah, we need to check on the agenda. Ms. McClellan, I don't know if you.
We're here to present information about the use of the bond and the override item. This, I think, is reasonably related to the use of that funding.
Okay, thank you. You technically could move all of that over to M&O. I think one of the things as a district we need to look at before we did that is making sure there are a lot of needs that we are still covering through our state-funded capital dollars as well. So I'd want to make sure that before we did that, that could impact what we have available to be able to do for curriculum curriculum purchases and technology purchases. One of the things we are trying to do is shift as much as we can to that override within the legal parameters of what those dollars were intended for, so that we are freeing up as much as we can within the state allocation. But it is something you can move all of it. We just need to look at what impact that could have with other capital purchases.
Okay, well, I think it's just good for us to know that that could be an option, and especially if we're going out for another bond, which is capital. And if we also are selling property, that also could go to it. So thank you very much.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? Thank you for the update, Ms. Crozier.
Yes.
That ends our information and discussion items. We are now moving to consent agenda item. We did remove O. I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda item as presented. I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes 5-0. Thank you. We're now on action items. 12A, approval of the audit plan for the 25-26 school. Did I mess up? We're okay? Okay. Approval of the audit plan for the 25-26 school year. Dr. Menzel.
There were no questions during the presentation. We recommend that the audit plan be approved as presented.
Need a motion?
I so move.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. We need approval for the AFR, annual financial report for 24-25. Ms. Crozier?
I guess I should have just stayed up here. Okay. Good evening again, Dr. President Lewis, Vice President Sharkey, members of the board, Dr. Menzel and guests. We talk a lot about budget, but at this point, we get to talk about how things went last year and how those dollars were, this is how those dollars were actually spent within our budget. Just a quick overview of our fiscal year 24-25. Our average daily membership was 19,333.1814. I know that's weird, but it's based off of how many days they attend. It's not actually, and their membership, it's not actually based off of how many children are actually enrolled with us. So membership is a little bit different than enrollment. That's pretty close to what we projected. We were off a little bit, about 65, but it is pretty close considering where we thought we would be. The base level support or amount we get from the state went up by 2% to $5,013 per student for M&O. We had a budget of just over $193 million within M&O. And our M&O budget balance was a little bit lower than what we anticipated. We were hoping for 10.1. It actually ended up being 9.9 million. What I would point out is there's a difference between budget balance and cash balance. So as you can see, when you look at the summary of our AFR, you'll see budget balance and you'll see cash balance. M&O is a budget driven, so regardless of how much cash we have on hand, that is how much budget we have. Due to the Quagmire refunds this last year, that impacted what our cash balance is. So that did put us at a negative cash balance within M&O. Again, that does not impact how much we can actually spend or what our budget is. What it really means is, do we have enough cash in the bank to be able to cover our expenses? And the answer is yes, we do. I would also say that what you really want is that cash balance to be the same as your budget balance. If you're carrying over 9.9 million, you should have a budget balance of at least 9.9 million. And again, this all has to do with Quagmire, which we are addressing and will be addressing for a little bit on how to bring that cash balance back up to whole. Capital, again, had 39.7 million. That is capital and capital override. Budget balance in there of 17.5 million. So that'll add to what our balance is for this year. And then federal projects, 13.3 million, and the budget balance is 2.5 in there. Just a quick overview of M&O. M&O, like I said, is primarily our people. You'll see that between salaries and benefits, that was 83% of our budget. That's what makes it hard sometimes within M&O, is that when we're looking at M&O reductions, it's people. Most often because that's where the bulk of our salary is at. 6% is utilities. I'd love to see that get better, but I get nervous when I see things like possible utility rate hikes. But that just really doesn't leave a whole lot after that within our M&O budget because most of it is going into salaries and benefits. Of the salary and benefits, or of the salary portion of that, 68% of it goes into certified. That's teachers, that's nurses, that's guidance counselors, psychologists, OTPT, those types of things. Classified, and then admin. Admin also includes principals and assistant principals. I will say part of the AFR, so the information from the AFR then goes into what's called the school-by-school report. So they take all of the revenues, all of the expenses, and they move that into a format where you can look at by school and compare by school. It is a beast of a report. In fact, we have not even been able to find a way to be able to email that out to folks because it is just so huge. So we did go ahead and we did send the governing board what that looks like. The cool thing with that report is you can go in online, which it will be posted tomorrow, and you can see by particular school what the expenses were. You can also see the revenue, as well as comparing it school by school. I do want to point out, I know we did print out copies, and I'm sorry it was so small. There's just so much information that went to the board. We did realize this afternoon in the revenues, the revenue total is correct on the school portion of it. There's a line that has the total revenue, and then there's another line that gets pulled in. It's the exact same number, and that gets you to the total allocated revenue. Because we had it on one line, but we were missing it on the second line, the total was not calculating right. I'm not sure why they have it listed twice, and if you don't have it in one box, it doesn't sum right. So we did make that one change. It doesn't change anything within the IFR. It doesn't change anything within the school by school. It literally just, by missing that one box, the sum wasn't adding up right when you looked at each school. So we did make that one change. With that, any questions?
All right, Mr. Sharkey.
Mr. Crozier, on the M&O cash balance in the negative, so last year when there was a paying for the custom yarn, I remember I was in the audience, not on the board then. I remember there was a financial vehicle we used to kind of get a good rate for it, but it seemed like the conversation was, we have the cash to handle this, and I know we were forced to, we didn't have a lot of choices because of the background of the case. This is looking like we're in a hole because of it. How do I balance those things?
Absolutely. We did, there's what option you do have is called tax anticipation notes, and we did take out tax anticipation notes last year. The concern we had last year was the timing of when that, I think it was just over $24 million. The concern we had last year is when exactly was that going to come out, and knowing that quite a bit of our revenues come in October. And so the concern we had is if the timing lined up wrong, we would be in a cash deficit and have a problem where the state would say you either have to basically take out a line of credit and register warrants through us, or you need to have TANs. So we did that as just to make sure that we were going to be okay. Revenues have been coming in through that. It pools also with it pools with a couple other funds. So it affects M&O, it affects capital, but it also, with the treasurer, when they're looking at what is your cash balance, it looks at a couple of different funds. So looking at that, I mean, our cash is definitely low in that pooled account right now, but we also know that at this point, taxes are going to be coming in. They start flowing in basically right now, starting in October. So even though within M&O, our cash balance is negative right now, because of the balances that are, and we don't use every single dollar of our M&O, we don't use every single dollar of our capital. Because of where our balances, our ending balances are, yes, the M&O is negative, but as a whole, we are able to avoid being as a whole in the cash negative. Does that kind of clarify?
Mainly a timing issue, as in?
It's really a timing issue of when is revenue going to come in. So we start paying bills in July, and we're doing payroll. There's performance pay that goes out from the classroom site fund. There's things that happen from July until October, but the bulk of the money revenue doesn't start coming in until you start collecting on taxes, which starts really the first part of October.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions regarding the AFR? Dr. Potensky?
A little bit less of a question and more of a comment. First off, thank you for this presentation. The prior one, they're excellent. I have a tremendous amount of empathy for you because you need to both be technically correct and speak plain English. And most of us don't know what an ADM is. We don't know what an RCL is. We don't know what an M&O is. We kind of guess what a capital budget is. We don't necessarily appreciate different overrides and all the different kind of rules and what you can and can't do. And as we all saw during the open comments, this is a time when our community is really trying to understand our financials and what is our situation, how big are our deficits, how do we think about, without going into things we aren't agendized, different scenarios that may get explored. So I would just encourage as much as possible, without sacrificing being technically correct, because you do need to speak the language of the profession, creating as simple and clear a way of describing our operating budgets as possible as we go into these difficult discussions.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. All right, I make a motion to, I'm sorry, another comment. All right, Ms. Carney.
Thank you, President Lewis. I just want to make note that the school level reports have never been included on the previous year's agenda item, right? This is the first time that you've added it, so I appreciate that. We've been told that we are in the hole for $8 million because of Echo, Canyon, and Pima. Can you tell us where that is shown in this?
I think we have a.
So that's not a part of this AFR, and we've never said that the $8 million hole is because of Echo and Pima. So we do have a study session scheduled for October 28th to discuss the specifics of the entire budget. That's separate from the AFR.
Anything else, Ms. McClellan?
No, I agree with the fact that we're straying from what's agendized.
Okay, we'll hold those questions then for the.
Okay, well, if you could just help the board understand after this meeting how we're to read these reports to find the information. Because I'm not sure, even from these school level reports, how we're supposed to find that information. So we really need to learn where that.
Am I able to talk about the school level?
No.
Even though the school level report is on the agenda.
Well, if there's information in the school level report that is on the agenda that is a part of the AFR, you could speak to that.
It
I also understand that we're talking about the prior period, right? We're not talking about the
last
future
year's,
period.
yeah.
And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Governing Board Member Carney, you're asking about kind of what's the source of the budget deficit in the upcoming cycles that is informing.
Well, there must
these
be
topics,
budget deficit.
Not in the past.
I mean, there's got to be budget deficit on this budget.
What I would say is when you're looking at the AFR, it encompasses everything. It encompasses tax credit. It encompasses gift dollars. It encompasses federal dollars, capital dollars, all funds that come in from the district. And so on those school level reports, you will see expenses and you will see revenue. What is important to keep in mind, and it does state this on those pages, is that it is encompassing of all funds. I think it says like Fund 1 through 799. So it encompasses almost every single fund within the district that could be used at a school or revenue used, but there's, as Dr. Patinsky was mentioning, there's different ways and uses and how dollars can or cannot be used. And so what I would say is when you're looking at those reports, it is encompassing of, like I said, everything: tax credit, auxiliary, gift funds, all funds within a school that may or may not be able to be used in a certain way. Am I okay?
Okay, I would just ask for guidance in moving into this next budget cycle to help us as board members read these reports, because if I'm being told, oh, you should know that information because it's in the AFR, I need to know where to find it, because this is serious to me. And I also just want to put out there for the community, because I didn't know where this was. If you just go to susd.org/department/finance, and you can find the AFR, these school reports on there. So it is out for the public, but I don't think.
This particular one will be posted tomorrow. We don't
Right.
post it until it's been
Approved.
But
at
it
least
will be
that
posted
people can
tomorrow.
engage with that information if they so choose.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Warner?
I'll hold till a little later.
Okay. Any other comments at this point? I make a motion to approve the annual finance report as presented.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Excuse me, thank you, excuse me. All right, if Leah will come up, please, we'll start the approval process for the strategic plan, including KPIs and wildly important goals for the 25-26 school year.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Lewis, Vice President Sharkey, governing board members. Really appreciate the opportunity to answer any questions that you have this evening about any wildly important goals. Really also want to extend some significant gratitude to the teachers and the families that have also reached out and shared their opinions and their feedback, and want to just lean into that and know that I really do appreciate the ongoing conversation. So for whatever questions you may have or however it can help, I'm more than happy to do that.
My first question tonight is about phasing the goal of the math goal, and I'm wanting to just maybe unpack it a little bit for us so it doesn't feel so sudden at 200% increase, since we heard that tonight.
Sure. So phasing in terms of even longer, like a
Over
7 to
time.
10 year goal. So over time, I can understand that. I think there's numerous considerations that we need to take into account while we think about what happens over the next 4 to 5 years. We have evidence that in our high schools, I definitely agree that there are gaps in algebra readiness skills and predecessor skills. We have had over a number of years in our strategic plan, I think going back to maybe 21, 22, goals around increasing outcomes in algebra in high schools. Some of the early, I believe, root cause analysis of what was going on there led concerns to be brought around curriculum mapping in middle schools, lack of clear algebra readiness, and some gaps in learning in earlier grades. And so we have worked on some curriculum mapping in previous years. We also launched a large-scale adoption after we learned from feedback from our teachers, especially in the middle schools, that the materials they have in front of them are not meeting the needs of their kids or their usability. And so through that work that had been happening prior even to now, we started to launch a bigger plan. I understand it does seem wildly ambitious, wildly important, and I think there's absolutely an opportunity to consider adjustment in that way. What I do know and can tell you is over the past 3 years, we have either maintained or increased our ACT math score. There's a very high correlation to the score of 20 to 22 to outcomes being high B or better in college level algebra. One of the worries is with the majority of our students not completing Algebra 2 generally until the end of 11th grade, is they are completing the ACT also prior to having that full instruction. And so that also is shifted our aim towards that goal, knowing that we have incredible teachers in our high schools and our middle schools and elementary, but our evidence right now is showing us that many of our high school kids, on average, are able to demonstrate some of those algebra readiness skills. So while the holes are there is some evidence that we are filling them. Go ahead.
I think that the sentiment also expressed was the intensity of responsibility and how that might be communicated.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think similar to in previous cycles when you've launched strategic plans and approved, that is a strategic action team all around mathematics. I heard tonight and have heard through conversations, questions about how do we get parents engaged? How do we talk to families early on about the importance of some of those predecessor skills? And so strength in algebra, research will show you time and time again, does sort of propel future strength in other mathematic disciplines. And what we know and can map all the way down to kindergarten are the prerequisite and predecessor skills that students really need to be strong in. So I do think that there can be some confusion around the term of accelerated, because accelerated sometimes is just skipping or going faster. But in order at the earlier grades to accelerate the progress in learning, you also have to prioritize instruction and focus on those specific algebra prerequisite skills. And so that is a huge part of the phased approach, really in the elementary grades, and investing in quality curriculum, the professional learning of our teachers, and making sure that we are leveraging common formative assessments to track the strength of those predecessor skills over time.
I would just emphasize the developmental nature of it, so thank you. Other comments or questions? Dr. Potensky.
So I'm not sure if this is appropriate in a board meeting context, but when you talk about predecessor skills, you're talking my love language. And I said earlier that, you know, when we're talking about the budget, most mere mortals don't know what an RCL or an ADM is. We might not appreciate what a predecessor skill is.
Sure.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea of a predecessor skill is that when students sit in the 8th grade, as we hope they will, and are engaged with algebra, they are bringing into them not everything they learned in 1st grade math, 2nd grade math, 3rd grade math, 4th grade math. They're bringing with them very specific skills from each of those grades that were algebra relevant. And if they don't have the necessary skills, as we heard from our math teachers, the concern is that we're not setting them up for success by simply putting them into that class.
Yeah.
And so what I love about, and one other quick preamble, we know now from our exit surveys that after folks leaving the district because they've moved, a rigorous academic curriculum is the #1 reason. Everyone has their #1 reason why families make other choices. The survey data suggests it's a rigorous academic curriculum. So I love that we're focusing on math, even though we love all of our subjects equally. I love that we're focusing on math. I love that we're focusing on algebra within math. Again, we love all of our math equally, but to really make a point of leverage, I think getting everybody understanding from kindergarten all the way through how it's not a single teacher in 8th or 9th grade that's responsible for algebra. It's the entire history of that student's journey, and of course the parent and the family environment. I love that as well. All of that being said, as I reflect on, and maybe you could help me understand what it means to approve this, I do think we have work to do to bring the district along in understanding that this is not about just grade level achievement, and it's not about one grade carrying the burden, but it's a whole of district approach to really personalize and assess the competency of every one of our students with those predecessor skills to get there. And I don't know that the way it's written right now fully communicates that.
I can absolutely hear that and agree with that in many ways. I would say approval of this WIG would double down focus on unlocking algebra opportunities for everyone. Going back to the table and maybe adjusting what feels, I think, like a shock value of percentages is something that is okay too. I do think it's really important to be thoughtful, to be responsive, to be intentional. I also think it's important to be competitive. And I hear our exit surveys. I also know, having spent 20 years in states across the country serving school districts, that in many elite school districts, Algebra 1 in 9th grade is remedial. And I have found here in the highest achieving school district I've ever worked in, with the most qualified teachers I've ever known and some of the most engaged parents. I have deep belief in the ability here in Scottsdale for us to achieve the goal, but I also, it's not me. It's not my goal, it's us. And so I think there's a lot of value and a lot of importance in making sure we are wrapped around the table. To be in total honest and transparency, I've been working on this for years of my career and was caught off guard by some of our teachers' concerns about their ability to fill the holes, some of the concerns that came up. And so I think it's appropriate for us to lean in and have those conversations, whether or not we adjust the metrics or keep the metrics. I think that the conversations are really important. And so that to me is a commitment you would have from us in our department, is really working with teachers and having those conversations. I know you guys received a great amount of feedback. I did not. And so that is for me just also a desire to be able to have those direct conversations or calls or emails or text messages, because I believe in our teachers so much. And I believe in our children so much, and so that's just all I want, is an opportunity to have the conversation. But you are right, it's the predecessor skills. So solving for unknowns when you're a 4-year-old in the car, or doing little games, things like that, all the way from 3 years old to 15 years old, really can strengthen that algebraic thinking and reasoning. And so I just want us to be in the conversation about elevating expectations and unlocking real opportunities for our kids in high school and beyond.
Thank you. Member Warner?
I'm always for high standards and high expectations. However, I would like to see you go back to the drawing board because of the comments that were made by very respected math teachers. Some of them are in the room here today that I trust with this. And so I won't be supporting this today because of the feedback that I did receive, as did my colleagues here on the dais. And so my ask would be that we table this until you can go back to the table with the people that have reached out to us and sort out how it's going to be most effective for our students and for our teachers.
Vice President Sharkey?
In a similar vein, very much as a math major, very much having respect for our math teachers, and the dissonance between the goal and the comments is real. Dr. Patinsky sort of said this, like, what does approving the goal mean? And so by us approving the goal, how much wiggle room is there? Are we painting our teachers into a corner by adopting it now versus it is a goal, it's a stretch goal? So my first question is that, and I have a second question, but I'll start with that. Kind of, what does it mean by adopting it, and what are we committing to by doing that?
I think adopting a goal sets aspiration for the future. It rallies people around an outcome. I'm not aware of goals reached or unmet in previous strategic plans that have resulted in negative implications on individuals. And so that worry, I haven't seen evidence of that here in Scottsdale. But again, I'm relatively new. I think that moving forward with the goal continues effort around unlocking algebra, tabling it to reconsider continues the effort around unlocking algebra, but bolstering the conversation. I guess my wondering is, if we go back to the table, is it about the percentage and the number, or is it about the belief that our children can accomplish algebra in 8th grade? And so that would just be truly a question I would have.
Sure, I have a second question, but do you want to respond to that? Or?
Yeah, I'll be real quick.
Go ahead.
So I would take that question and I would ask the math teachers that are in the room today and the ones that have reached out.
So related, a little more detailed, though, we talk about phasing. We've talked when we had this first discussion that this is a 4th grade through 8th. This is not like snap your fingers in 8th grade. Is there I'll say plan, but I'll use that word loosely, saying here's what the next 4 or 5 years targets are in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th to lead us up to it, so we can see what that growth is. Are we on track? We'll know, next year, hey, we're not hitting. And also, is that plan, if it exists at the school level, knowing that we may hit different targets at different schools based on the incoming skill sets of the students?
Yep, so I would say the plan as it sets is really what's underneath that wildly important goal with some of those annual metrics and strategies. I think that it's a high-level plan at this time, because really moving beyond to approval is when you really get into the depth of what per school per year would be the metrics that we would be seeking in order to measure progress. Which of the predecessor skills are we calling out in our curriculum? Are we matching CFAs to? And so some of that work is the work that really does get built out at that granular level. I think when we talk about an overarching plan, it really is talking right now with our 4th graders and 5th graders, focusing time on their families, leveraging those predecessor skills or algebra accelerators, and finding ways that we are prioritizing them, making them essential, and making sure we have systems of support around them. And so that, when it comes to actual specific metrics per year, per strand or per specific skill, we have not built that out to that level of depth.
Thank you, appreciate that. So looking towards making a decision on this, I see the notion of approving the goal as setting the North Star and getting people lined up to do that. I don't see it as we must hit this number, otherwise we, dock your pay. And so I'm trying to understand that if we do approve it, again, we're not setting teachers up to fail. We are, though, starting the process. So, the thing I want to make sure is I'm not speaking for math teachers, because I am not one, and I have tremendous respect for what they do. But I'm hearing that approving the goal, even without details and conversations, doesn't do any detriment. It starts things moving. And I'd love to understand if people hear it differently, but that's kind of how I'm interpreting what I'm hearing.
Dr. Paczynski?
I mean, that's how I hear it, is we are saying that we as a district want to set the goal of having our students engage algebra successfully in 8th grade. And, maybe we can't get there in 5 years. Maybe it's 6 years, 7 years. And we certainly don't want to do it. We certainly want to make sure that we are creating measures that recognize we want students to be successful. We don't want to just have 75% and half of them fail, right? But in order to, I think, have the constructive conversations that say, under what conditions can we do this? What do you need for us to be able to do this? How do we get every part of the district understanding how it contributes to it? We want to set as a North Star that we can be, like many districts across the country, a district that teaches algebra in the 8th grade, and there are a whole bunch of reasons, benefits of that in terms of, you mentioned ACT, in terms of then how students can branch in different directions in high school math. There's a whole bunch of reasons. So I fully understand we're not ready today to do it. It's simply a question of whether that's where we want our district leadership collaborating with with the math teachers and others to figure out how we get there.
Thank you. Dr. Menzel, would you like to comment?
When Kennedy said that we were going to put a man on the moon and return him safely, he outlined a wildly important goal. There were a lot of people who said it couldn't be done. They didn't believe it was possible. But he set something that was aspirational and inspirational. When we look at our math achievement data, we know that we're not where we need to be. I have full confidence that by setting the wildly important goal as increasing the percent of our students who successfully complete algebra in 8th grade, we can get them to higher levels of performance across all of the academic continuum. I think if we don't set a wildly important goal, if it's only incremental all the time, we will never get to that aspirational, inspirational nature of being a destination district. And so to me, I think the question that's on the table is not about, is this the right wildly important goal? You can change the number to 60% or 50%. I don't think that's the relevant factor. I think the relevant factor is that when we elevate expectations for students and we couple that with the right level of support from the time they start with us as kindergartners all the way through graduation, they're prepared to knock it out of the park. That's why I think this is the right wildly important goal.
Thank you. Member Warner?
I think so I'm going to repeat myself. I am somebody who's high expectations, high test scores, but it was my understanding that this move was that students may not do well in the class, but they would do better on the testing, and I think that's failing our students. And my request to table this to the next meeting is for you to go back to the table and talk with the teachers in the room today and get everybody on the same page, because clearly we had teachers who came forward and were brave and spoke at the podium today. And so let's listen to the teachers. figure it out and let's come back at the next meeting and approve something that everybody's on board with.
In hearing your approach to unpacking and breaking down the goal over time from a management perspective, I have confidence in your ability to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and call for the, I'm sorry, Ms. Carney, Member Carney?
I actually agree with much of what's being said by everyone, right? But I am concerned that we have heard from,
Our
so
high
many.
school math teachers, yeah.
So many teachers, and I just see, we tabled the KPIs for the administrators till the next board meeting, and I'd like to make a motion that we table these to the next meeting as well, so that we have time to make sure they are heard, and that we're all coming together on something that everyone can get behind. So I make a motion to table this item until next board meeting
I
in
second.
November.
Thank you. I second that.
So,
Further discussion?
yeah, I have a comment. So on that potential motion, I'm very much of a fan of buy-in, and there's obviously dissonance between teachers from what we heard. And, I think even with saying, there is no downside, I don't want it to get off on the wrong foot. So is there a cost or issue with tabling it for a month? What does that do process-wise, Dr. Menzel or Mitchell?
So the issue is one of what do you expect to be the change in this? If the expectation is that the wildly important goal is going to be something other than increasing the percent of students who successfully complete 8th grade algebra, that's a rewrite of the wildly important goal. I don't know that that's a single conversation. Everything that I've read in the emails that have been shared talk about what's the pipeline and pathway that kids are coming into 9th grade algebra now not prepared. And our conversations are by moving this lever, we are building and committed to build through our math adoption this year and with our professional development and support for teachers in the elementary, ensuring that more of our kids, that WIG says 75% by 2030, that we could negotiate on. If we're committed to that, we're retooling the entire system, not to put a new burden on the teachers, but to create more opportunities for our students. So I'm confused about what the conversation would be, because if it's about how do we operationalize it, that's not the WIG. That's the execution of the WIG over the next 5 years. And so if we're talking about a different WIG, that's a very different conversation. If it's about how we're going to execute, that's an ongoing process, and absolutely teachers at the table every day, all day, at all levels. They're at the table now with the math adoption.
So I'll say it's a third thing, which is buy-in. To me, adopting the goal while not having buy-in sets us up for a poor future. So I could see keeping the numbers exactly the same, knowing that it's not a hard goal and there's no penalties for missing it, but adopting it without buy-in. So that to me is what I see the change. And if there is little to no cost in taking another month to table that part of it, to give Dr. Mitchell and folks time to have conversations and get that buy-in, which I know is a soft thing, but it's an important thing. That's the delta I see.
So can I ask about that though? Because again, respectfully, if the buy-in is for the WIG is currently configured, that's one thing. If the buy-in is to say we just want to improve AASA scores by 3%, that's the incremental versus the wildly important goal. And that's what I haven't heard. I don't know what the mark is. We've been talking about this since last August on the topic. And again, I believe the teacher voice is really important, but I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing, because there's a conversation about what we believe kids are capable of doing. And if we don't believe our students in Scottsdale are capable of 8th grade algebra when across the country high-performing school systems show they are, that's a statement that someone can make. I don't think we should. I think we redesign our system for that. I want to bring teachers in as how do we get this moving in the right direction. And if the buy-in is to say is 75% the wrong target, that makes more sense to me. That I can understand. If we're moving away from the lever of 8th grade algebra as being the target, I struggle with that because I think that does not represent elevating excellence.
I think the buy-in is, I'm a 8th grade math teacher. I don't see the path to this goal. Help me understand it. Not talk about it in details, not have a full 5-year plan, but help me understand how we get from here to there. That to me is time well spent. And I appreciate the President Kennedy man on the moon, right? there's a different position where saying, look, we are going to make this happen. I don't think we're in that mode because having the buy-in from the math teachers, given everything else going on in our district, I think it's an easy thing to try and get if the cost is 1 month. And I think it's a really hard thing if we lose it because of it. So I'm just weighing on what's the cost of spending 1 more month to have that conversation, show a path, have a conversation. That to me doesn't seem like a large price to pay.
Member Warner, let me get a word.
So, Dr. Menzel, I would direct your comments and questions to the teachers who spoke here tonight and the other math professionals in our district. And having buy-in is very important, and they're the ones who have to teach our kids and ensure that they are excelling and doing well. And so we do have a motion on the table, and I'd like to vote on it.
Mr. Sharkey, you would like to hear a response?
Yes, Ms. Mitchell, your comments?
Sure. So the only two things that I have is in terms of waiting a month. There's never any harm in having conversations. I have not been privy to a lot of the emails and information you all are getting from the high school teachers. I have had conversations with elementary leaders and elementary teachers who I don't think are totally aligned in the same feelings across the system, and they're most directly impacted earliest. And so that's just a consideration. I think it's worthy of also considering elementary teachers who it is right now actually in 4th and 5th grade, and I'm not hearing negative from them in my actual visits in their schools. I think they're, as a previous elementary teacher, but ours also, are hungry for specific support and understanding what are the algebra predecessors, what does that mean and look like, and so there's a little just delay in being able to bring focus to that. I think I would just say the most important thing is actually parent conversations and engagement, and so at the very end of October, we have the end of Q1 parent-teacher conferences. Part of our moving towards embracing an idea of unlocking algebra in 8th grade is to really start having conversations with 4th and 5th grade families now about here are IXL skill plans, here's what a predecessor skill is. Moving it, delaying the conversation doesn't interrupt the opportunity to have those conversations at parent-teacher conferences and to support our teachers with those conversations with families. I think it just adds a layer of ambiguity to the leaning into what does that conversation really mean. And so conferences are really a great place for us in elementary and middle school to help educate and come to common ground with families on what is the future for your child. And I think a lot of our parents of 9 and 10-year-olds aren't totally aware that that transition to middle school and math placement and math strength really does set a grander future. And so I would still like to be able to commit to supporting our teachers and families with those conversations. And I, of course, am always happy to lean in. I don't disagree in terms of not sure what great change would come, but consensus and inclusion always is a great option, in my opinion. So,
Dr. Potensky?
So I would support the motion if we were saying that we are in agreement that 8th grade algebra is the WIG, and what we want to do is take time before setting very specific measures, 75%, 50%. Do we measure it only on the 8th grade and 9th grade teachers' shoulders, or do we set goals for each grade level that's associated with the acquisition of predecessor skills? I would fully support that motion. To Dr. Menzel's point, I don't understand why we would delay making that decision when this has been something we've considered for a while. And it is ultimately the responsibility of the board to set the WIG. And but that's not the motion.
Ms. McMillan?
That's in front of us.
I think Dr. Potensi just realized it's not the motion on the table, it's just a table, so.
I was explaining how I was going to vote.
Got it, thank you.
We have a motion and a second to table. Are we ready to call for the vote? All right. All those.
Clear, is it to table the entire?
To table well, it's an all or nothing proposition right now, so it's a yes or a table all of it for now.
And
So-
Mr. Sharkey, the next meeting's on the 28th, so it's 3 weeks, a little less than a month.
3 weeks. No? You want to add anything?
It's okay.
It's a study session.
Yeah, we can still vote on it.
Keep the study sessions on study. Okay, let's vote.
All those in favor of tabling say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of not tabling, say no.
No.
No. The 3-2 passes to table. And we'll bring it back for a review. And the summary of what you heard was the breakdown with the 8th grade and the clarity of communication for ownership of the goal.
Yep, with all of our teachers at all levels.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, good discussion. Thank you, everybody. All right, we're moving on to action 12D, approval of the superintendent annual performance-based pay plan. Mr. Sharkey, you helped develop what's being presented tonight. Do you want to kick us off, please?
The performance plan was put together after conversation with the board, and I took those comments, worked with the superintendent to get the appropriate metrics, and put a version on the table for us to view, discuss, and vote on.
Ms. Carney?
Thank you, President Lewis. While I have concerns about the goals, I first want to say that I don't believe we're in a financial position to agree to awarding up to $45,000 in performance-based pay right now to our highest paid employee in a time of discussion of closing and repurposing schools. The superintendent contract says the board may award up to 20% performance pay, not must.
Dr. Potensky?
I think it's important, correct me if I'm wrong, that we note we're not agreeing to award. We're agreeing to set a performance plan. The successful achievement of that plan would lead to the award. And so then it becomes a question of what are the goals and the metrics that if our CEO, if our district leader were to achieve them, we would feel like, that was well earned. My belief as a business person is that when you hire someone and you put in place a compensation package and you set an on-target earnings for that person, that you have a responsibility to follow through with giving them the performance goals that allow them to earn that on-target earnings. I would fear for the reputation of our district when the time comes in the future to recruit the next superintendent and the superintendent after that, if we are a district that when people are hired, it is simply a question of whether we feel like it or not, or we're comfortable or not, setting a performance plan for someone whose contract clearly calls for them to have an opportunity to earn their entire on-target earnings. And I would argue in a year where really, really difficult decisions need to be made, whether those decisions are around sites or whether, because there's no not doing it, right? It's not, we're not repurposing a school and then we also have assistant principals in every school and we also. So at the end of the day, we will balance our budget and we will have to make very difficult decisions. Even more so, I think, important to have a district leader who is set up with very clear performance targets for what we view success to look like, and also the opportunity to earn their full compensation for delivering on those targets successfully, if the leader does. And obviously, if the leader doesn't, going back to my opening comment, then we're not awarding anything because they will not have achieved it.
Any other comments, questions?
I just
Mr.
want to
Sharkey?
point out, 40% of the goal is academic achievement, and it is the 4th through 8th grade math and the 4th through 8th grade ELA, each increased by 2 percentage points from that cohort from the prior year. So the hope is that if these outcomes are met, and the concern is, are we spending money properly, that if it gets us 2 percentage points increase in proficiency on ELA and math for those 5 grades, that is money well spent. And so the hope is that come the end of the year, when we hopefully meet these goals, we're happy with that, and this is not a financial argument. It's actually good academic outcomes for our students.
Ms. Carney?
Thank you, President Lewis. I just have a question because our superintendent goals and performance pay in the past, 75%, we had a weight of 75% for academic achievement. So I'm just wondering how you came down to 40% in these goals.
We came to that when we had discussions, and 30% is financial, knowing that this year is a very big decision on financial and budgeting issues. And so we as a group came to that discussion of the weights. And if there are problems with the weights, we can absolutely adjust.
Yeah, as I recall the conversation that we had as a board, it was recognizing that when we do the superintendent's evaluation, and we use.
Madam President, members of the
Yes.
governing board, I think we need to
Okay.
limit our discussion about what was said in executive session, but there was consensus reached on those percentages, and we can say
A
that.
reason why I believe the weighting that's being proposed makes sense is when we do the superintendent's evaluation, it's across 4 criteria. And don't quiz me on exactly the 4, but finance and operations, academic achievement, those are the kinds of categories. And so it creates a disconnect to evaluate across those 4 criteria, but ultimately have almost all of the performance compensation tied to a single criteria. As well, as we know, the financial and operational dimensions of the job are going to be particularly acute this year. So for those reasons, we wanted to distribute them more evenly across the 4 evaluation criteria.
Member Carney?
Thank you, President Lewis. So I just also am concerned about the financial goal, about leading the district to a sound long-term budgeting plan. This is a subjective goal to be evaluated by the board. How come this is part of performance pay and not just part of the job, balancing the budget?
So without going into detail of what was said in executive session, that conversation was had in executive session.
Well, what would your explanation be?
For mine? That yes, for all of these things, that's part of the job. So to say that the superintendent or any employee, well, if I don't get bonused on this, then I'm not going to care about that thing, is kind of a ridiculous statement. So there's absolutely overlap between what the person's bonused on and what is part of their job. Our goal here is we talked about WIGs and stretch goals. We talked about setting those goals. So on the financial side, if you can see, the goals are, a low level, we barely eked by; a medium level, we did good this year and set us up well for next year; a high level, we have a good multi-year plan that'll put us in good financial shape. So that was the conversation. And the fact that it's hard to quantify that is the reason why there's a subjective goal for this.
Ms. Carney?
Okay, and lastly, because I just don't think I really agree with any of them, how come we are increasing cohort math and ELA proficiency by 2 percentage points when we've always done 3 percentage points, which is the standard?
Looking at the past goal, the past actual results, they're actually all over the place for each level. There were positives, negatives, 1 percentage point, 9 percentage point. There was a big change. Looking at the deltas between prior year, 2 percentage point across the board is a good stretch goal in my opinion. And based on historical things, I think for me, if those were all hit, I would be happy that we've increased our academic rigor and our academic achievement.
Okay, I just wonder why we're lowering the goals this year. But I'll stop there.
Ms. Werner?
Yes, related to the enrollment goal, which was taken off of the cabinet's KPI, it's listed on the slide from the last meeting that the enrollment goal of 2% was met on 8/18/25. So we're approving a goal that was already met. And why wouldn't we be stretching that?
The goal hasn't been met, so it's the 100th day enrollment, 25-26 is the target, which we have not gotten to yet. And this is an enrollment retention number, so it's taking the cohort of students who, the number we had completed at the end of academic year 24-25, and then taking that same cohort of students 100 days into 25-26 and having that. So the word on there is enrollment retention. If this was enrollment is pretty much said at the start of the year, right? Who do we get to come into our schools? This is retaining the cohort we had from the end of the previous year, K to 11. Now they are 1 to 12 graders, and it's increasing that cohort by 2% at the 100th
Yeah,
day.
we've already met that.
No, it's a
So thank you.
retention.
I've made my point, but thank you. I
We,
just wanted to
actually,
let the
I'm going
public
to say
know that.
no. The target is based on the 100th day enrollment number, which we have not hit yet.
Can I ask a process question? First off, no one else in the room knows what we're talking about except for us, which feels unfair, you know.
Explain, you're right.
And second, we.
Hang on, Ms.
Madam
McClellan.
We seem to
President,
have
the-
skipped
the-
over, can I just
the-
finish one other piece and then you can respond to both?
Mhm.
We seem to have skipped over presenting them. So I think in this case, for example, there is potentially a substantive misunderstanding of the goal. So are we not allowed to lay out what's in front of us?
Madam President, Dr. Patinsky, you can lay out what's in front of you. The superintendent's performance-based pay plan is available to the public. It was posted as a part of the background to this agenda item.
Great. So I guess my point is more, we never presented it. We never said, so the first goal is this, and this is how it works, and the second goal is this, and this is how it works. So do we want to take a minute and just make sure we're all grounded? Because, for example, in this topic, I think there's a disconnect between believing it's an enrollment goal, which it's not. It's a retention goal. So it's not about getting 100 kids to come into the door. It's about, of the kids that come into the door, making sure at least 95 continue when they are in the next grade level, which by the physics of time could not possibly be met because it's in the future. So I think there's just a disconnect on what we're actually voting on. So would it be helpful to just talk through each of them?
Go ahead, Ms. Warner, your
Oh, I'm
light's
sorry.
on. That's okay, okay. All right, Ms. Carney?
President Lewis, this is your agenda item, so why don't you run through them?
Actually, it was Mr. Sharkey who helped us follow up from our original discussion, so I've
Okay,
asked
I don't know,
him
it
to
says
present.
submitted by you, so.
Yeah.
I'm the one who took the action item to pull it together based on our conversation in executive session. Is there anything you'd like me to walk through? I'm happy to do it. If not, we can go to a vote. Please let me know. Anyone?
Well, I think the 2% improvement in achievement every grade level is pretty straightforward.
Right.
And then reasonable people can come to their own view of whether that's lowering or raising or what have you.
Sure. Financial one, I said, is a
The
subjective.
financial one is about putting the district on a sustainable financial footing, which is obviously a big part of the focus this year. I think the only one that might be a little confusing is the retention one, because even when I read it first, I didn't fully understand it. So
Yep.
do you want to take a minute and maybe
So
explain?
again, it's enrollment retention. So you take the K through 11th graders, the number of them who we counted heads at the end of academic year 24-25. So in May 2025, there were 18,105 K through 11th graders who completed with SUSD. Those K through 11 students are going to be 1st through 12th graders this academic year. So they've already started, they are in school. On the 100th day, which is a 50 days-ish in the future from now, we do a count, and the goal is for that count to be 2% greater, 18,468, which means if you take out students who graduated early, because we don't need penalized because they did a good job graduating early, and kudos to them, everyone left, we want to have 2% more. So we might get new students in that start with us. We may get students who are in that cohort from last year, K to 11, and then start and say, oh, I want to go somewhere else. So there's pluses and minuses, and the goal is to take that cohort and have it be 2% greater on the 100th day.
All right, without further questions, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the superintendent annual performance-based plan as presented. And thank you, Mr. Sharkey, for your work on it. I need a second.
I'll second.
Are we ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against, or no?
No.
All right, it's 3-2, it passes. Thank you. All right. Item 12E, scheduling a public hearing regarding potential closures, repurposing of Echo Canyon K-8 school and Pima Elementary School. I want to remind people this is not a vote to close or repurpose. It's simply to schedule hearings so we can hear more. Ms. McClellan is here to share with us this presentation.
Madam President, members of the governing board, I would like to just walk the board through what the timeline that is required by statute. So the board is to schedule a public hearing. The public hearing cannot take place sooner than 10 days after notice is given to various members of the community, including parents. Then a public hearing may be held. At the public hearing, no vote may be taken. The board would need to wait another 10 days before they could take a vote on whether to repurpose, close the Echo Canyon K-8 school and the Pima Elementary School. So the purpose of tonight's agenda item is solely to schedule the public hearing. It would be inappropriate for the board to respond to members of the public who came to public comment or to discuss the merits of that action. We're just voting to schedule a public hearing so that the process can play out as required by ARS 1531, paragraph 32.
May I ask
Dr.
a
Potensky.
question? So I was quieter earlier, not because I don't appreciate, so many people coming and sharing, and I've had a lot of great email interactions with folks, but just to make sure that people have every minute possible to help us listen and learn. So for the benefit of the community, can you describe how that public hearing works? Are people limited to a minute each, or is that the whole point of a public hearing?
Sure.
We can actually have a little bit more of a robust discussion? Is there an expectation of the district presenting, or is it solely to hear? Just maybe help everybody prepare to make the most out of that public hearing, please.
Absolutely, and I have attended multiple public hearings in my career. The public hearing is an opportunity, similar to when you have a public hearing regarding your budget. It's an opportunity for a mandate by the legislature that these governing board members hear from the members of your community regarding the potential closures. Each speaker would be given 2 minutes. Each speaker would be allowed to speak every speaker would have a chance. You wouldn't have a time period where you would cut it off. So you would need to listen to the entirety of everybody who showed up. In the public hearings that I have been to previously, typically the district administration would give a brief presentation. Typically that's about 5 minutes to the members of the board regarding the reasons for the administration's recommendation. That's what I've experienced in the past. I think you do have direction that you can give the administration tonight if you choose to set a public hearing, one being because you are looking at two communities, whether you want to have the hearing bifurcated, where you would hear from the community regarding Echo Canyon on one period and the community at Pima at another period, so you could do that. You have choices within the agenda item about what date you want to choose. Option one is the October 28th meeting that you have scheduled. Option two is a November 13th public hearing. If you choose the option one, you could vote on the matter on November 18th. If you choose option two, you would vote on December 9th.
Ms. Carney.
Thank you, President Lewis. Okay, just so I have an understanding, you're saying that we're not allowed to speak to this tonight. Are we allowed to speak to this after the public hearing?
You are allowed to speak to this when you vote. So you would need to wait. It's meant to be a process for you to gather the information, some of which you've requested this evening, and to listen to your community. But the time for you to present your views on the options would be if you choose to set a public hearing, when you vote on the matter, which cannot occur until you've had the public hearing and waited an additional 10 days.
Okay, so that our feedback, our views come after the public hearing, at the public hearing?
No, your views would come when you take the vote on whether to repurpose or close either campus.
Member Warner?
So I have some concerns related to this. And Scott Menzel has had a majority board since he got here. That means that he said a 5-0 vote or a split vote, and every recommended budget has been approved. And so we're here And I was notified that last Monday, he spoke to a group of parents and said that we were in an $8 million shortfall. I've requested a spreadsheet for the
Ms.
evidence.
I'm worried that
dwelling
we're-
into
No, we're not.
know.
I'm sorry, I
think
can't
that
vote
we're-
on this without
Well,
sharing.
again, I think that we're beyond the scope, and we need to comply with what's in the agenda item. And the agenda item is only to set the public hearing. You will have an opportunity to discuss this matter at length, but you are required to follow the statute. And if you are jump-starting with the discussion when you're just scheduling the hearing, then you haven't heard the community views. And that's what the statute requires you to do. And you know that as a member of the legislature, that's what they've put into place.
So I would then motion to table this item so that we can set an agenda item that we can have a discussion about Pima and Echo Canyon, what's been going on, and the marketing and everything that's transpired, so that we can actually have a conversation as a board, which we have not had. So that is my motion.
I'll second that motion.
So logistically, the study session we have on October 28th would be for that, could have that session, is that correct? So having the two options, which I believe the two options on the table were based on the availability of the board members. If one of them is the 28th, that supersedes the study session, which takes away our ability to talk. So if that's the only criteria for me, I would want to keep that study session to have that opportunity to have a conversation, which would default to the 13th as the better option. So just, that's how I read this and it's going through my head.
And that was partly my hesitation to start putting agenda topics onto that study session. So again, just to be clear, because I feel like sometimes, I mean, everyone has access to information, but it can sometimes, have its own technical language. The whole idea is we are about to have a study session where we will learn from the district the context for this entire topic, the budget questions, the enrollment trends, all of that information. Reasonable people can disagree, but, what has been done to increase enrollment or what hasn't been done to increase enrollment. All of that is what we still have to hear before we could have any reasonably intelligent discussion, I think, on it. Always timely to hear from the community, obviously, but there's a little bit of cart before the horse because we haven't yet heard the district actually say, this is what we're recommending and this is why we're recommending it. So while I find it offensive to suggest that I'm a shill of the superintendent, I do actually agree with Governing Board Warner that we need to have that conversation. We need to hear what is it we're deciding, why is it being recommended, what's the historical context, and the community needs to hear that to then engage it and say, no, you said you did X, Y, and Z, but you didn't do any of that, or what you didn't address is these other things we could have done. So I do think there's a smart order of operations here, and so for that reason, if we have a duly seconded motion that we have to first act on, I would be voting against that in order to maintain the order of operations that was originally suggested. No math pun intended by order of operations.
Your love language.
Madam President,
Ms.
you do
Warner.
have a motion and a second to table.
Yeah.
So
And-
we-
and
Ms.
will make-
Warner?
Yeah, I'll make one more comment to that. On September 29th, Dr. Menzel did tell the same group of parents that he would not be recommending that their school remain open.
Okay, we're on the hearing, and we have a motion to table the approval of scheduling a hearing, so we'll vote on that first. A motion, unless you want to make any other comments before that vote.
No, the motion to table is so that we can agendize and have a discussion about it prior to making this big decision to have a hearing. I think that we as a board need to have the conversation before we go to the public and hear from them, so that we have a
That's
full
the study
understanding.
session.
Well,
Okay,
then
so
we
we
would
have a
vote on
motion,
it at the
we
study
have a
session. We're
motion
not
and a
gonna vote
second to table.
Thank you. So
I'm going to call for the motion on the motion to table and the second to table. So I'll call for the vote and I'll roll call. Dr. Potensky?
No.
Ms. Werner?
yes.
Ms. Carney?
Aye.
Mr.
No.
Sharkey? And no. So the motion to table did not pass 3-2. I await another motion.
I'll make a motion for option 2 on the agenda to hold the meeting on November 13th.
Need a second?
I do
I'll
have
second.
a question on
Okay, we
that.
can discuss it now. We've got a motion and a second.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, because this is our first time doing this, right? This is a recommendation to the board from the district, from the superintendent, to potentially close, repurpose Echo Canyon and Pima Elementary School, correct?
It's a recommendation from the district administration to start the process. And the
Right.
first step in the process is to obtain the community involvement, which this board would have sought anyway, but the legislature has mandated it. So the district administration recommends that this board start the process.
Okay, so our vote is saying whether we agree or not to start this process.
The vote only schedules a public hearing.
Excuse me. All right, I'll call the motion. We'll roll call again. All those in
Madam
favor?
President,
Yes,
may I
please.
ask also that the motion include providing the superintendent with authority to issue the requisite notices, please? If
Would
Mr.
you
Sharkey
modify
wouldn't
your
mind.
motion, Dr. Potensky, as recommended by the attorney?
I made the motion that we go with
You did, I'm sorry, I thought it was
with
you.
option 2 to schedule a public hearing on November 13th, and that we give the superintendent the ability to communicate as needed.
Thank you.
And a second for that modification?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Dr. Potensky?
Aye.
Ms. Warder?
I'm going to explain my vote. So I'm going to be a no today, simply because I do believe we're being misled. And the superintendent has already said that he's going to be making a recommendation to close these buildings. And my request had been to have this item agendized so we could have a conversation as a board, which we're not able to do if we're not all sitting at the dais. So with that explanation, I will vote no.
Thank you. Ms. Carney?
I'll explain my vote quickly as well. I'd ask over the past year or two for our growth consolidation plans and never received anything. And I am a no on proceeding with this.
Mr. Sharkey?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes 3-2. Appreciate the difficulty of these conversations and the board's health in its disagreement. Thank you, Ms. McClellan. The next two policies are yours, so we're staying at the podium. We are at 12F, second read and approval, Governing Board Policy EB regarding Environment and Safety Program. Ms. McClellan.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, this is a second read of Governing Board Policy EB. These recommended changes have been recommended by your policy provider, the Arizona School Board Association. The changes are in conjunction with House Bill 2074, which is now law. And I'm happy to pull up the proposed changes if I can get to them. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is recommended for your approval this evening.
I make a motion to approve the revised policy as presented, policy EB. Need a second?
Second the motion.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. We'll go to G now. Mrs. McClellan.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board Policy GCQF is your policy regarding the discipline, suspension, and dismissal of professional staff members. Again, the ASBA has recommended proposed changes to this policy, and the changes are minimal in nature, but it would permit the board to designate a hearing officer to hold the hearings as shown on the dais right now.
I'll make a motion to approve the second read and approval for policy GCQF as presented.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, our next one is second read and approval for policy IGA. And Ms. Carney, this is your agenda item.
Thank you, President Lewis. So I've noticed and I appreciate the strengthened process of committee formation within the district since I brought these policy updates to the board on August 5th. I have seen emails go out to the entire community through Parent Square with the information and links to apply for the additional math curriculum adoption committees, and most recently, the supplemental materials committee. So while I appreciate the strengthened communication and process, we still need to bring policy into an alignment with what we're actually communicating to the public, that the curriculum committee is an advisory committee to the governing board of SUSD. And I just screenshot the application for parents, community members, staff that says this is an advisory committee to the governing board of SUSD. And so I just am looking to bring this policy into an alignment to what we're actually telling the community.
Would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve updated policy IGA.
Second.
Second? All right.
As presented.
All right, I'll call the motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
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 Nay. It does not pass 3-2. 12I is regarding second read and approval of policy IJJ. Ms. Carney.
Thank you. This is the second policy update that I had originally discussed on August 5th. So currently, our textbook adoption committees are operating under policy CE as superintendent committees. This update to IJJ just brings policy in alignment with the language used by the district of our curriculum committee, which I read to you, is being presented to the public as this is an advisory committee to the governing board of SUSD, which would follow under policy BDE. We are also putting language out to the community telling, that this is an advisory committee to the board, yet we're not aligning it to practices. Also in the application, it says, are you applying as a parent, guardian, community member, or employee? There's no student option listed because we do not have students on our committees. I make a motion to approve the updates to policy IJJ as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in, would you like to make a
Suggestion?
comment? Sure.
Have you made suggestions to change that form so we can add students to it?
No, I've not made the suggestion because these suggestions align with the policies that I was trying to change because I know how we've been operating. So it's just proof that this policy update is needed.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. The motion does not pass 3-2, or do I say 2-3? All right, we'll go to J. Ms. McLennan?
Madam President, members of the governing board, your policy advisor, ASBA, has recommended changes to policy IKF. The changes would bring the district into alignment with the new statute that allows students to submit their high school exam scores taken outside of the district as a part of their graduation requirements. As we've discussed at the September 9th first read, this more robust changes to governing board policy IKF have been presented and started to be discussed with your high school planning guide. This would just bring this piece into compliance.
All right, I need a motion. I'll make a motion to pass the second read and approval of policy IKF as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Unless you have.
Aye.
Aye, okay. It passes 5-0. We're now on item 12K, Mrs. McClellan, and that would be item policy JLC.
Madam President, members of the governing board, there was a change to state law discussing the requirement to provide, if parents request, the healthcare credentials for persons working in health offices, as well as provide just training for any employee. This policy would bring the district into alignment with that statute that was effective just last week.
I'll make a motion to approve policy JLCD for second read and approval.
Second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. We are now on M, second read and approval for policy JLF, reporting child abuse and child protection. Did
Madam
I say it
President-
wrong? JLF?
It's JLCD.
My bad.
That's okay.
JLCD, my apologies.
Madam President, members of the governing board, this policy recommendation makes both cleanup changes to the policy based upon the recommendations of your policy provider. It also aligns Scottsdale Unified's practice with respect to the use of epinephrine, Narcan, and albuterol inhalers. This policy has been reviewed by your lead nurse and is recommended for your approval.
I make a motion to approve second read and approval of policy JLCD as presented.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. On M now, policy JLF for reading and second reading and approval. Ms. McClellan.
Madam President, members of the governing board, statute change to require different identification requirements for Department of Child Services workers. The policy changes is aligned to that change in statute, which was Senate Bill 1493. And this is recommended for your approval this evening. The first read was on September 9th.
I make a motion to approve second read and approval of policy JLF as presented.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 5-0 pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Appreciate your attention to the changes in statute as it aligns with policy. All right, we are moving on now to item 13, future agenda items. Board members may propose topics for future consideration. I'm sorry, yes, Ms. Werner.
I've requested 2 items. One is to bring the Booster and PTA handbook to the board for a discussion related to a couple of different items. And the other one is to create a policy for accepting honors elective credits for incoming students. And those have been provided in email already.
Thank you. Others? All right, we've got some big work ahead.
Sorry, I've got one.
Sorry, Mrs. Werner.
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough.
Mrs. Carney?
Thank you, President Lewis. I'd like to request that at the next board meeting, October 28th, that the board have an agenda item for the board to create a Planning and Boundary Design Advisory Committee, PABDAC, and look to Mesa Unified for guidance on their success with this. And I would like that on the next meeting. It is a special meeting which under policy can have action items, and this is very important. I think that we have something like this before we proceed into repurposing and closure conversations. I'll email that. Thank you.
I'm pausing, all right. I think we're good. All right, dates for our upcoming meeting, October 28th is a special governing board meeting, and we will be at the Mojave District Office Annex. And I don't need to move to adjourn, I can just adjourn. I move to adjourn the meeting, and it is at 8:46.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It passes 5-0. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.